Good morning, everybody. Cheers. Oh yeah, new week. Welcome to the newsroom.
Varda VAR1 in Germany naming a new chief executive officer.
Welcome to my $100 million studio on the top of a New York skyscraper.
Chevron CEO on the energy market. She's saying demand remains healthy and growing for oil.
Hope everyone's having a good start to their week so far. Getting some follow through in the S&P 500 from Fridays. We're gonna take a look at the markets. We'll get into some individual names, drop tickers in the chat. Morning, Daryl. Morning, Cypri. Joyful Living. What's going on? Blue Mammal. What's up? TC, Zulfi, Danny, Vin. Morning, FT. Hey, Tams. Wow, welcome everybody to the stream. All right, we're gonna hop in. We're gonna start looking at markets first because we're getting a little bit of a pullback into the markets.
Generate some cash in the second half of the year.
Okey-dokies.
Sierra Alpha Victor Echo.
All right, so not much on the news front today. We have some Fed speakers. So today, typically when you have a day where there's not much economic data, you can have, follow through if Friday was a good day. These are the days that like the tape is kind of just lackluster, right? So not much going on, but we have a couple Fed speakers. Then we have a loan officer survey in a few hours or so. Market movers, nah, it's nothing crazy. Now we started the day off where at the daily expected move already. So the upside potential, it's somewhat minimal in those cases, right? It doesn't have to be, but what we do is if it's already at the daily expected move, there's a high probability that it comes back in, and we're getting that right now. We're trading around. It doesn't mean it can't go higher, but we got to look at market net flow and see what dealers are doing. And this entire move right here, interestingly enough, if you look at market net flow for the day, it's not been all that great. So the market started with a gap up, right? We had a little bit of follow through. People get excited, right? Following through on the prior day, but then market net flow is not really too confirming. So this all right here would have told me the price can pull easily right back to the daily expected move, without a doubt. Whether that's more or not here in the near future, we shall see. Lower the volume here a little bit. Oh, yeah. So right now, we're just kind of trading within what the market priced in on Friday for Monday's risk. Now, I didn't have a market brief for the week, so we'll take a look at what the daily expected moves, weekly expected moves are. Weekly expected move for the S&P 500, 517.59 to the upside, 504.99 to the downside. A couple of things have changed these recent trading days. First and foremost, I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see. This white anchored VWAP, we're going to talk about that because you can see price got above it, held its support, and we moved above. So I'll talk about what that is. We're above a 5-day moving average. The longer we stay here, albeit it was a strong move, after consolidations and we get lower risk setups, we're above a rising 5-day moving average. That's positive. Okay, and then also, if we take a look over here on the S&P 500 gamma chart, we're above the flip line. The flip line being above it means we're positive gamma territory. This is where dealers look to buy the dip, sell the rip. And there's not much really going up into and around 5,200. So 5,200 would be the near target. I would like to see price consolidate a little bit more, pull back a little bit maybe before making that run. But what I want to see doesn't mean that that's going to happen, okay? So if I go into net gamma, you'll see here 5,200 is an important level because that is the call wall on net gamma. So price gets up to 5,200. This is where we get pinned before, obviously when we have the roll off, option expiration, and so forth. They get pinned up in here if they're not starting to reach out further. Now, if they start to reach out further, then we start looking at like 5,300, 5,250 in those rounder numbers. If gamma starts really kind of going up in those areas, all right. All right. So right now, yeah, market outflow is not really giving us a great edge because price action, it's telling us that it's actually bearish divergence, bearish market net flow. Price action at this moment, though, it's kind of just doodling around, right? After a gap up, it's one of those kind of gap, ramp, and camp sort of things going on right now. So we'll take a look at some individual names. We'll take a look at the Mag 7, see if there's anything that's popping up here. So we can look about trading anything. Just got back from my workout training for the Murph. For those that know, they know. All right, now the anchor VWAP that I was talking about over here, somewhat important because right here, if you look at the S&P 500, I'm gonna hide some of this stuff. Month to date, not necessary right now. Week to date, not necessary right now. SMA, not necessary right now. This was the swing high, all-time high, right, for the S&P 500. Then we had this big bearish engulfing candle. We had another big old bearish candle right over here. And price action's making kind of an aggressive 2-day, 3-day move here. And you can see this anchored VWAP, or TWAP, time-weighted average price, whatever you want to call it. Price action got above it, right? So some people might look at this and be like, oh, yeah, we broke the trend back up or whatever. I think the more critical piece here is that we're above the average price, based off of time and volume, since the all-time high. So from a psychological standpoint, all these people in here that was getting chopped up and all that volatility, now, if they held their positions, they're, in theory in the green, right? The average person. So you'd really want to start holding this level. Now, price came down. I want to show you because we started making lower highs, lower lows, but this right here was a higher low. And this day right over here was actually a higher high. So that right there is the initial change in trend in the short term. Now, even if price were to come down, we'd want to see where it establishes and if it bounces up to make another higher low. And then you could buy into this trend. So already we saw a pretty strong move, but we haven't seen this move consolidated at all.
Still feels very good about the Hess
So coming
deal.
back down, consolidating, doing something like that would be more beneficial. But a lot of the times you can get these rallies that sometimes take place and they just keep gapping and trapping, gap ramp, camp. And you get these just pops to the upside, make it darn near impossible to get an entry if you didn't already trade it. But I would say just be patient because there's obviously still a lot of stuff going on from an economic standpoint and how the tape responds to various data points. It's been quite wild. Hey, good morning, Palm Tree. Good morning, Jalen. What time am I looking to get for the Murph? Oh man, I'm just looking to try to finish it. I don't really know. I don't know because last year I couldn't even get through it all. I was not prepared. So, and I don't think I'm going to be doing it with a vest on too either, by the way, Jalen. I don't think I can do that. I'm not that level yet. So I don't know, maybe like 55 minutes, 50 minutes. Right, I think that sounds about right. But with no vest. I'm not that level yet. You know what I'm saying? All right. Let's take a look at some of these Mag 7 stocks. We'll take a look at Bookmap and so forth. The market right now, it really is just kind of a chop fest. The microphone is expired. Microphone is expired. I don't understand what that means. Are you guys hearing the volume? Is the volume fine? I don't know what it's expired means. Yeah, you're probably seeing Apple to be super weak today. Yeah, I mean, there was some news around Warren Buffett selling some of it or something like that, right? There was some news around there. But you got to understand, Apple gapped way up, and now it's just coming in a little bit, you know, from its earnings. Sounds fine. All right. Oh, did I just mess up my screen? Oof. There we go. The static, I don't know. I think maybe it was clipping. Let me see if I can lower the volume on it a little bit. Maybe that sounds a little bit cleaner. Test. Okay. Dang, man, dang. Semiconductors coming into the daily VWAP for a little U-turn. Yeah, Nvidia has been strong today. We'll pull up some of these names. All good now? Okay, cool. I'm gonna look at some of the S&P 100 names, the very liquid names up in the top. Actually, let's take a look at Market Watch first, and we'll tell what's going on here. Pretty green day overall, but yeah, Apple's showing some weakness. Apple's relatively flat on the day. Google also pretty same situation, pretty flat on the day. Meta up 1.45%. Nvidia is the one holding things together pretty well. Microsoft's up almost 1%. Let me see here. Index Watch. Look at the S&P 100. We have 62 advancing names, over 39 declining. So even the advanced decline line, we're showing a lot of strength here. Semiconductors mainly. Now, it's just interesting to me because while this is happening, we don't have the greatest looking market net flow. All right, so I'm not like really looking to jump into that. If we take a look at the 11 sectors that make up the S&P 500, energy led the way. I made a morning note in the Discord if you saw that. Energy sector looked like it was near a bounce. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to see that. We had price come down pretty severely, right, with oil, and we're seeing a bounce right now. Could be a lower high or could start to really move here. But if you take a look at something like oil, right, we're coming back a little bit, but we had a pretty aggressive sell-off in the price of oil.
15 minutes now to the European cash equity close. UK closed for holiday today, but the CAC Quran is open up 0.5% along with the DAX, which was
10-year yield came off a bit here too. Seen a little bit of a bounce back. And then the dollar also.
Cable at 125.70, up 23 pips. The euro at 107.75, up about 11 pips.
Is that updated? This doesn't look updated.
Dollar yen 153.84.
So even here, like, look at the dollar. Is this updated right now? Is this accurate? Yeah, that's accurate. Okay, cool. I feel like the daily is not updated, but this right here is a little disconcerting. Seeing the dollar kind of bid back like this. Because you got to understand, even if I look at like the 15-minute time frame, this was the news, right? Where we had the macro data drop on Friday, the jobs and everything. Even this came all the way back to where it was. Like this move to the downside really did help markets out, but it recovered, and now it's starting to bounce back here a little bit more here too.
Alpha Charlie Hotel, Victor.
And we've been showing these correlation charts. So not only is the dollar coming back right here, like pretty strong, like a pretty aggressive move. Doesn't mean it can't come off, but as that's coming up, and I'm also watching market net flow, something just doesn't seem right here. And if something doesn't seem right to me, I mean, that means if something comes off, where could it potentially come to? Maybe if I'm looking at gamma exposure right here, maybe back down to the 5150 level, if that was the case. So let me see here, gamma, anything change here? 5150 is the call wall, and people aren't really reaching out too much further. So 5175 maybe? Let me see here. They're not really reaching for that, but I mean, I guess that would be the upside target. But if we do get continued sell-off and, you know, dealers are kind of pressing it here, I think we might get some sort of liquidity type of quick move, maybe down into 5150. I think that would be the area. So I look to really trade more from the long side, and I just don't see this as a positive look to start initiating into. However, we can look at individual names because other individual names could tell a different story than the S&P 500. The thing is, if the S&P 500 comes off, right, chances are a lot of the names obviously will come off during that same time because they're heavily correlated, obviously. Mara, you want me to take a look at Mara? Yeah, Mara had some news today. I think Mara is entering into the S&P 600. From what I heard. which is like mid cap names. So they're, it's kind of upgraded. And then one of the other names that is got not necessarily upgraded, but just moving into the S&P 500 because they're doing some stuff there was, what was it? AAON. No, that was added to the S&P 400. VST was added to the S&P 500. VST has been freaking wild, man. This one we've traded a couple of times, I think. Yeah, this is a high beta name. This thing's been just cranking. Okay, so let's see here. Microsoft. So a lot of these names that I'm looking at here now, we're kind of earnings is we're getting through earnings and everything. A lot of these names, I saw these big bounces. I mean, they haven't seen any digestion yet. And you can just see by looking to the left of the screen, right? You see these big rips, they got faded, they got big rips. And we're not seeing any like consolidation, any digestion. It's just been a lot of volatility. Look at Apple, big rip, faded, big rip, faded, big rip. And then we get the earnings and now it's kind of coming in just slightly here. So it makes it very hard to like feel confident to trade. What I'm looking at here is that we remain above the 5-day inclining moving average, inclining 5-day moving average. And then we stay in the positive gamma territory. It's just initiating into this right now after a big move. Like I don't want to get stuck in a consolidation, but I also don't want to miss a gigantic move. So a lot of the names that I have on right now are like I have some exposure on in my main account. Like I still had some of some S&P 500, which I got out of a little bit earlier. I have some oil stuff. That's really it. That's really it. Not much, not much. So I'll continue to see here if we can spot anything. There's a lot of names on the tight list this week. So if you're in the Discord and you haven't seen the tight list, make sure to go through that because there's a lot of names that were coiling up that looked very good. Some consumer staple names, some oil names, just various different names. I think FTI was one of them that I was interested in, but it kind of made its move a little bit gapped and kind of ran away. So we'll see if it consolidates a little bit more here. Some of the like I think Dr. Pepper or KDP, right? Or KDP, right? Yeah, Keurig, Dr. Pepper. This one's coming in a little bit, but after a nice earnings move, it's just consolidating here. So I was kind of watching this flag. It's coming in a little bit here. So I don't think it's ready to execute on yet, but it is consolidating. It is kind of holding up right here at around this 34. Kind of getting paused up, right? You can see 34 is a pretty interesting level. As you had the high of this day, you had the open of that day, you had the high of this day too. It's kind of coming in within here. So maybe, perhaps, and this is like a lower beta name. I mean, Pepsi was another one, I think. Yeah, Pepsi, I would imagine they kind of look the same. Kind of just coming in a little bit, but you see these big bullish kind of moves, and now their price is getting tight, consolidating. Also, more of a lower beta name. And then there were some medical names too. Can't remember all of them off the top of my head. I don't think this was one. Yeah, Kex had a nice flag. Kind of missed that. Boston Scientific. A lot of these moves are just digesting earnings, and it's one of those things where you just kind of want to be patient with. Be a patient. All right, let's see here. I want to start pushing, like once we're in positive gamma, once we have all these things going for us, I do want to start making some moves, but it's also like, it's just a little, like something's just a little off for me, right? It's just not the greatest look, but the conditions are there. Conditions have gotten better. So coming up here, so after the close today, we have Palantir, which obviously a lot of people are watching. That's one that we've been kind of keeping an eye on too, because a lot of people were saying it's a head and shoulders pattern and it's playing out to the downside. But what have we been saying? We've just been saying, dude, it's just consolidating an earnings move. And that's exactly what it did. There was a couple like flags here. We played it, right? And then people were saying it's a head and shoulders, right? But now it's above the neckline, so it's not a head and shoulder no more. Now people will probably be like, oh, it's a head and shoulders. But then it was an inverse head and shoulders, and now it's playing up to the upside. Price is just really choppy here, right? As we're heading into earnings. So when it's really choppy, you can go into like a weekly time frame, And you would have saw like, oh, well, actually, it's actually just kind of trending down like this. And we started breaking above it. Didn't look all too bad, right? The patterns. So market net flow is still bearish divergence, bearish convergence, but I will just note that the cumulative net premiums for calls have been moving up where the puts have kind of just flatlined. Yeah, we'll look at Meta, we'll look at all those. Hey, morning, Trader Joe. What's up, T-Rabbit? Boom, 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 boom. I really was interested in REAL too, the real, because this one looked, you know, pretty nice, but it's starting to make its move today, and there's earnings around the corner. So I'm going to see how it plays out after earnings to see if it sets up. But I just loved how it was kind of coming into this prior high, and we started moving through that little pivot today out of 4. It's a lower price name. It's one on like it's one name that's on like Hedge Eye's like radar, and they have like a $10 price target. You know, whatever that means. You know, yeah, that's why I have it drop here. We watched it live when they were doing that. I like to look for just tightness and then play the breakouts, and I just can't do that going into earnings. I would imagine that they're more focused on the bull. If this is a bullish kind of, from their analysts, it's bullish. Their idea would be that it would be going to be seeing a move up higher on earnings for the real. Like, and the expected move is like roughly 90 cents, which is a big move in a $4 stock, right? It's like a 20% move, 25% move. I just can't execute into that unless if I was only doing like a couple shares, you know. All right. Yeah, we'll look at PayPal. Let's look at Meta. PayPal I like. PayPal for the first time looks like it could be setting up. Why? Because I mean, if you just go back. So let's do this actually, because Thinkorswim allows me to do this. So we're trading right here. If I click this bar and I go back right here, this line right here, that would be 200 days ago, right? The reason why I'm saying that is because that means it's accumulating this data, and you have the 200-day moving average is right here. So in like the next week or so, right, this is going to drop off, and then we're going to start to average this data. So this should start to turn up here in the near future, or flatten out to turn up, right? The 50-day started turning up already. We're above the 20-day. So at least it like, when I look at this right now, right, we had earnings, and I said I wasn't going to play into earnings. Well, we gapped up and we kind of crapped out. But now if price action starts to tighten up a little bit better, I think, you know, this sets up for a potential opportunity here. It's not like a for sure thing that it's going to go into a markup phase, right? Where you have accumulation, a markup, distribution, decline, where we could be potentially turning that corner, but we're above the 50-day. It's holding this level. It's pulling back in right now. It's kind of getting hung up around 68, and we're starting to lose some data. And if I zoom out, right, a lot of that data that we're losing since that point, we've been kind of basing out, right? This could very well be some sort of a bottoming pattern. So I think there's opportunity here, but what would break that idea is if we start cracking down back from this low, right? We have a low, we have a higher low, and we have a higher low over here. So if we start breaking down from this, I'd probably not be interested until it turns back around. If we go into the weekly time frame, you can see it maybe a little bit cleaner. Last weekly candle was not the greatest look on earnings, right? It gapped up, came back down. So if we start closing below this low, sometimes these little candles can flush, but it's really just sideways price action. We've also now have the MACD and the weekly time frame above the zero line pointing up. We haven't had it pointing up above the zero line since over here. That's a while, We crossed back above. That was like April of what, 2020. Yeah, thoughts on Palantir. I don't really have too many thoughts on Palantir, other than it's coming into earnings. So we'll see what the market's thoughts are by looking at the expected move. It's $3.54. So if it's within one standard deviation, right, we can see price from where it's right now, be up to $28, $29-ish, or down to, like around 21. So a pretty large expected move there for Palantir. But it's been holding up after its other earnings, so I mean, it looks good so far.
1.1 million euro and 2.2 million in revenue.
Meta's still seeing a nice little bounce back. So we saw this really bearish move, and then it consolidated nicely on some down volume, or on some volume drying up, and we're getting some follow through to the upside. So not bad here, but we got to see how this move now digests. Right, I wouldn't execute into this right now, because of the strength of this move. I would prefer to see it consolidate, pull back, tighten up again, and then 5-day moving average come back up, and then maybe try to go for that gap fill. But a lot of the times, bearish earning gaps, they get follow through more to the downside even after you get these pullbacks. Just like a bullish earnings gap, it pulls back a little bit, and then sometimes you see follow through. You're welcome, Ronald. It was a pretty big break in Meta, and the big break, I mean, that's why you're probably getting this. Like, it comes out, you're seeing these moves up higher. I mean, even if it were to come right back up to here, I mean, you still would have all that overhead supply to work through. So you'd have to be more tactical, in my opinion, in an approach to this, which is fine. Like, you can be tactical in these types of situations. You can make decent trades. Like, look at Intel. I guarantee you a lot of people are looking to get Intel, right? Intel makes sense for a potential bounce, but this thing has been fading, and then we get a bearish earnings gap. So we, pull back further. We're starting to bounce a little bit. And then same thing with like Lulu, right? Lulu, very similar situation, right? Lulu, very huge earnings gap to the downside, follow through. We saw the pullback, and now we're getting a little bit of weakness. So you have to be more tactical in these environments.
Across Europe. You're on the lookout.
Doesn't mean it can't go up, but it just means that you got to be more tactical in your approach. Because typically weak stocks get weaker, strong stocks get stronger. That's just basic
NetApp appointing a new
trend principle.
Chief Commercial Officer. Remember Tango Alpha Papa.
Okay. Is there an event tomorrow for Apple? I didn't know. Yeah, I got the bond. You said bond auction. Yeah, so right now price is just fluttering. Okay, so I'm looking at price, and I'm looking at market net flow for the market. So, if you're wondering why I'm not executing right now, or feeling really confident to execute, it's this right here. It's a little bit more to the downside. So if I was to execute, I think it'd be more to the short side, but I don't really want to short the market right now. Maybe tactically approaching it like that, but I think this is more of an exercising patience sort of. Let me go to the 15-minute time frame. Like, what are we doing? We're just doodling around the 15-minute time frame. Kind of just doodling around. Price action's getting pretty tight here, though. So that's something to note. So look at the 15-minute bar right here. We saw this kind of move to the downside, back into the daily expected move. Then we have an inside bar. Now we're getting a little tighter up in here too. So
5.250% with 24.63% allotted at the high.
Yeah, and we're already outside the upper daily expected move. So I don't even want to risk it to the upside, even if we're to retag up here, unless the traders really started reaching.
5% with 32.82% allotted at the high.
So I'm like looking at this. Okay, wait, did we just get some stuff? Yeah, so we just got some bill auctions. We'll see if that does anything. Had a 3-month bill auction and a 6-month bill auction. I'm confused on what time it is. I started working out earlier in the mornings. I'm like all out of it. Feels like I've been up forever. So the market, the way it was positioned into these though, was more bearish. New iPads are coming out, really, Moonraker? I was never much of a fan of like Apple products for the most part. I was like, Android and PC and stuff, but I've switched a lot of my stuff over to Mac and Apple and stuff. And then now the way everything syncs up, and it's just been my way of like, it's way easier for me now. One, my parents don't reach out to me anymore because they were always asking me computer questions, and not only them, but like family and all kinds of stuff, because I was like super techie, building PCs and doing all kinds of stuff, you know. Now I don't even know the first thing about it. I can't remember. I can't recall anything. And Macs, they just seem to last. Maybe Apple's, maybe Windows does a lot better now. I don't know, but I just remember always like getting like my computer slowing down, and I'm like, dude, I guess I just got to upgrade and buy a new one. Some of my like my iMac I've had since 2017, and the thing is still just a tank. I'm not using that now. I just upgraded actually. I got one of those studio PCs from Mac. It's pretty good so far. I mean, to run all my software here, it's been pretty good. And then I use my iPad every dang day. I actually run a lot of scans on my iPad. I do a lot of my research on my iPad. Got the Chromebook and iOS, yeah. So I never got into Linux too much. I was just always confused with it. I think I had it a while ago, though. All right, so you can see we are just getting hung up right here at the daily expected move, right? The market's a little happy place right here. I mean, the door's open to move. We're still consolidating, right? We got about, I mean, it's only been 4 minutes on this candle, so we might break the high or break the low. We don't know yet. But that's something that I'd be watching here. The 30-minute time frame, you can see this put a little bit of a topping candle. So you have this strong move, right? And then you can see the bears started pressing a little bit here. And then we started cracking down. So, like, does that mean, like, shorted down to here? I mean, maybe if that's your style, then you have a stop up here. And market net flow would be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But also, look at the cumulative net premiums for calls. It's still cranking up here. And as this is moving up and this is just flatlined, it tells me that, you know, we could just see chop. So we can... It's not clear right now for me. Unfortunately, it just ain't clear. And obviously, look at the market. I think the market agrees, right? We still got those, you know, 2,500 contracts down there at 49.60-ish. God, who is that down there? Even down here, right here at 51.20, we have about 500 contracts. Right down here. That's, you know, that's sizable. That came in earlier today. The daily expected move, the amount up or down from the opening price. It's not from the opening price, it's from the close of the prior trading day. Yeah, see, this thing is starting to crank up right here. Look, and now it's above the zero line. So it just seems like people are reaching more for calls right now. So
Base reporting Q1 revenue 464 million euro. That missed the 475 consensus estimate.
Okay. Yeah. Still giving it a second here to see what happens. All over the place, man. What else is reporting? So before the open tomorrow, we got Disney, Celsius. Those are going to be some big ones. Celsius looks pretty good. The chart looks decent. It was a nice pullback in Celsius. Let's see how it looks now. Ah, man, it already made its run, kind of. I mean, earnings is around the corner, so we'll see. But I was watching this kind of trend here, and it started breaking out, obviously, into earnings. So once again, I don't execute into that if I don't already have a position. $11.38 expected move so far. I mean, we can be right back up here, or we can be right back down here. Pretty wide open range there. Energy is the leading sector today, but it was also the worst from the prior week. Let's take a look at the dollar, see if the dollar's telling us anything again. That chart's not updated. I wonder what's going on there. I mean, it's still holding fairly strong. What's gold doing? Gold looks like it's just consolidating here. So if the dollar does come off, I mean, the correlation between the dollar and gold have been kind of breaking in the shorter time frame. So the correlation's not like, and correlations do that. They change. Correlations change on different time frames. They change and so forth. And right now, like we've been seeing this move up with the dollar, and the dollar and the gold don't really have like a crazy short-term correlation. I believe the last time I checked, it was actually roughly around 0. It just like means that there's really no correlation. Typically, there's a strong negative correlation where the dollar goes down, gold goes up. Right, and that makes sense. And it's a very interesting environment when the correlations break there for the dollar and gold. But right now, this is just coiling up pretty tightly, and we're trying to make a little break right here. We'll see if it has some gas in its tank. Let's take a look at silver. Silver is making a break, so that means probably gold miners are doing really well today. So if we take a look at something like GDX, pop up right there. There were some actually miners in the tight list, and then also my watch list. I think AEM was one of them. The unfortunate thing with these is like they just gap up, and then they like don't, like you see this, like how do you trade this? It gaps up, right? So if you were ready for this move, like outside of this tightness right here, these 3-day tights, it gaps up and then it just doesn't do any move for the day. And that's kind of what we're seeing with the SPY right now. The SPY just kind of gapped and just trapped. Like look how tiny this bar is. Look at this range. It's literally nothing. Right? This was a larger range. That was tradable. This is a larger range, right? That was tradable. But this is literally nothing. Right?
LSELS in France reporting first quarter revenue 1.1 billion euros, in line with expectations, like only many DC here in France.
So look at that thing. It's crazy. So what are we awaiting here exactly? What are we waiting? We get some Red Book stuff tomorrow. There's just not much. Some more auctions. More Fed speak. 10-year note auction. That could probably move stuff around tomorrow. Consumer sentiment on Friday. It's just a kind of a chill week for the most part so far. And then as far as the earnings go, that's not the right one. I mean, it's not that big of an earnings week. I mean, we have some decent names there, but it's nothing like out of this world. You know, we passed our bigger weeks. Disney is kind of interesting to me too. Pull up Disney on the daily time frame. Yeah, see, it's already breaking this trend. We've seen some nice little breakouts here. It's just everything's moving into earnings, which just sucks. A lot of the names that I'm looking at that I'm interested in, they're just heading into earnings. So it's like, okay, and then I got to play like moves that have just been like over exaggerated to the upside or downside. And that's kind of what I did with the whole energy thing. All right, let's take a look here. Market net flow, see if it's changing at all. Still bearish divergence, but that's kind of waning a lot. And then we still have, I mean, it'd be interesting to see the green line cross up through the red. If the green crosses up through the red, maybe this gives us some insight that we can start heading up a little bit higher. And if we start heading up higher, I think the door's open still to 5,200. I don't know if it'd be there today, but there was people reaching out to 5175, I believe it was. They're not really right now, but that could be a target, 5175. That's up here. If we start getting more bullish like market net flow, that could be up here. I'm going to put a book map for a second. Give me a second. Be right back. Run to the restroom and get some water here. Gap, ramp, and camp sort of day. Exercising patience. Okay, I'll be right back.
BEN in Paris, France, revenue 349 million euro. That beat the 333 million estimate at Bravo Echo November in Paris, France.
All right. Oops. Some coffee. Ooh. All right, I'm back. Boop, beep, boop. All right. What we got going on? Nothing. Not much. Getting a little bit of a bid here. Maybe, perhaps, the sign will be if we start clearing this up here. Let's see market net flow. Looks like the green line's going to be crossing through. It feels like we're going to start getting to more of a positive look here. We'll see. Open the door to 51.75. I'd be down to trade that to the upside. This kind of looks like an area that's been kind of sticky here for pretty much the day. Just right here. Boom. Oops, why did it clip over there? No, that's not what I did. Right here. You can see this open, this close, this open, this high. Didn't close above this line. What is that? 514.40 cents. Just kind of gets caught up here. You get these wick, this wick, this wick, this wick. Right now this wick, but we still have plenty of time before this candle closes. Fed Williams is speaking. Yeah, it's a light econ week today, which or light econ week this week. Usually if that's the case, you can get some pretty nice moves.
White House now issuing a statement on that reported call that took place between Netanyahu.
All right, so the green line just crossed above it, so that means we're in a more of a positive territory. I mean,
on Rafah in the call today.
5175. Now I would love to see people start reaching out to 5175. 5150 still is kind of like that call wall for the 0 date level. But now conditions are changing a little bit here. 5175 could be in reach. Let's make it happen, Captain. Let's do it. I think that would be the main look that I'd be looking for then. As long as this stays how it is, that would be the target, the ideal target. Can't rule it out. All right, so let's see here if I can check one other thing. So that's positive to see. And okay, so 513, 514, where are we right now? We're above 514. So this is good also. So look at here on the 0 date gamma exposure levels. See this right here? 514, 513. Price action of the SPY is actually 514.39. And this can repel price, right? The red bars will magnetize it, but this could, as price is above it, we could potentially press higher. So we want to stay above 15, really, right? Which is a dollar and 30 wave. And now we're starting to get a positive look into the market. The last time we had a crossover was over here today, the bullish crossover, and the market started off pretty strong. Then it crossed back down. The market went sideways. And this entire time we've been talking about cumulative net premiums for puts versus, the divergence was, smaller and smaller and smaller. So now, I guess, from this point, it'd be nice to see the green continue to take over and keep moving up and the red line to come off, like below 0, and then start diverging more bullishly. And that would even be, that much better in our favor to come up to 51.75. Where is 51.75? Let me see here. See if we can just draw. We'll just make a horizontal line up there. Nice clip there. Now, in order to get there, I'd still, once again, we'd want to see some people start reaching like this to grow a little bit, man. It's just really not. Moving in the right direction. Rocket. It's either, we're either going to hop in the rocket or we're going to hop in the pineapple. Well, I wouldn't say it's a pineapple type of day today. I don't think we're going to be like getting cracked completely unless if something weird happens like it did those other days, the prior week where we just got thrown into the close for like, what was it? Dude, we were cracked into the close. It was like 2 days in a row, remember? This is a choppy day. All right. So book map, we have about 800 orders overhead over here. So we need people to step up. All right. I'm going to have you guys all to step up right now. If we all join forces, we will still probably not be able to move this market. Let's do it. Yeah, Moonreg, yeah, I remember vividly going all in here. Yeah. So who's speaking? Who's speaking right now? What am I looking at? Fed Williams and Barkin. Okay, so 950. We have Barkin and then Williams. Okay. And we have some people talking right now too, apparently. I feel like I would get some notifications if we had a Fed speaker right in this moment. Wait, what is this? May 10th. Oh, May 6th to May 10th. Oh. What is it? Okay, it is right. Okay. Okay, so 1250 was so that's EDT. Richmond's Fed, Thomas Barkin, he's a voter, speaks to Columbia, and then we have 1300 Fed John Williams voter. He participates in the conversation before the Milken Institute 2024 Global Conference. Okay. I don't know. And then Trade Economics is telling us we got Barkin. Okay, Barkin and Williams. Okay, so it lines up. Where are we at? Okay, Barkin. Yeah, okay, so it lines up. So I don't know. They're both voters, so I would pay attention to what they have to say. And that's going to be, you don't need to pay attention to what they see, but just pay attention to when they start talking or drop their remarks or whatever the case is going to be. That's going to be in an hour for Barkin, and then 10 minutes after that is Fed Williams. Who's barking? Barkin. He be barking, man. It's actually Coco. You get thoughts on the Krusty Krab? Sheesh. That's funny. Are you guys saying my mic is messing up still? Maybe it's this right here. All right, what about now? Probably should sound fine for the most part now. It might just be clipping. It might be going into a clipping area. But it's not showing red. It's yeah, Ash, they still have those orders down at 49.60. Put in an order for 10,000 contracts. Beautiful. Yeah, we can look at GME. I heard that there's some big moves there. Let's take a look at market net flow still. So we do have that bullish divergence-ish. I wouldn't even call that a divergence, really. They're right by each other. It's not really diverging. It's leaning bullish now, right? Seeing this nice move up here, right, has been going, right? And this has been kind of flatlining and going off. So we'll see if it diverges more. That'd be positive to see. GME, yeah, so GameStop, among other names that were kind of like heavily shorted, saw some squeezes. GameStop being one of those. And it's coming in today. I mean, that makes sense, right? We can watch this. It's probably a good tradable stock, intraday and stuff like that. Especially when you see these type of moves. Give me a second here. But yeah, I don't, yeah, like it's not really, like what happened to GameStop? I don't know. It could have been just a short covering. Maybe there was some news. I don't really know. But the trend is still down. We've seen moves like this before, and they've all gotten faded. Did something change fundamentally? I don't know. Doubt it. But overall, like, right, we see this kind of like start to see a little bit of volume come in. This is what you can always pay attention to. A little volume comes in, it pulls down a little bit. On lighter volume, it gets very tight, and then you get these explosive move breaks from them. And then you get, obviously, a follow-through of some sort of a short squeeze. It happens on a lot of highly shorted names. And now we're coming in a little bit. So if you were interested in something like this, yeah, maybe it comes in, maybe it does tighten up and just trades within this bar for a while, and then sets itself up for another pop-up to this swing high. I don't feel comfortable holding this stuff for more than a day, like intraday. Like, I've traded GameStop. And if it is going to be held for multiple days for like a swing trade, it's obviously a smaller position, because even right here, it's down 15% on the day, but it's probably down way more than from its swing high, right? 20% from its swing high. So I can't take like crazy positions in anything like that. UAL did look good, yeah. Let's pull up UAL. Yeah, UAL also. Yeah, this was a good looking name. Nice follow through there on the earnings. So you get a strong move, price consolidates, right? And now, you know, volumes dry up. So UAL looks pretty darn good. And you can see we kind of broke through this flag, getting some follow through today. Even if you don't chase it here, and if it comes back up to here, which it seems likely, like it can probably go retest these highs, especially after these type of moves with big volume. Maybe price can consolidate and get tight here for another setup out of that. I was interested in J Blue over here, but it broke down. So right here, it was getting kind of like higher lows into it, and then it broke down on its earnings, so I couldn't trade it. TT, there were some other ones too. I can't remember. Yeah, a lot of these some of these airlines look great. Let's look at just Jets, JETS. That's the ETF. Ugh, a little choppy and sloppy. A little choppy and sloppy, but it did kind of break this little trend line here. So it looks like it's opening the door to potentially back up to this high. Just like all this looseness and sloppiness there. All right. Nvidia is still sitting roughly at the highs of the day. You know, a few candles away from it. It's hard for the market to go down when you have a name like Nvidia up 3% on the day. Right, so if Nvidia is going to continue to press up higher, you know, that's going to be good for the market. Microsoft is roughly at the highs of day 2. That's the highest market cap name. So this is why I say I wouldn't really look to like necessarily, you know, get super bared up or bulled up really at this point. It's like it's just not much direction here. So you see it's getting kind of just sloppy up in here. Still bullish, but sloppy. What's the market doing? Still nothing. Thanks for subbing to the channel there, Evan. Could be wedge, yeah. All right, so the market's coming in a little bit here. For some reason, this 514.40 on SPY, like I said, this has kind of been holding up, and you know, you try to get these breaks from it, but it just got rejected multiple times. Doesn't mean it won't come break. Maybe it's just consolidating here. Ugh, boring day, man. A boring day. A boring day. Boring day. What? On which one,
Russian
Trader
Energy Ministry is saying that Russia has fully compensated.
Yeah, I like RTX.
Fuel
We'll pull up. Oh yeah, and WFC. Yeah, even Dell. Yeah, all those names are pretty decent. Let's pull up some of those names. Trader Joe's giving us some good swing trade ideas.
Well, Saudi Arabia Foreign Ministry warning Israel that targeting Rafah is part of its bloody campaign to storm all areas of Gaza.
Some geopolitical stuff. CTRA. All right, let's pull up some of these names. Let's do that. We got over almost 1,000 viewers in our live stream total. That's wild. It's a big stream. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to sub to the channel, like the stream if you haven't already. Helps get it out to more people. Keeps me doing these. Typically live on Mondays, Tuesdays. Still trying to be a little bit more consistent, but said we gotta try to figure that out. All right, so KMB, let's take a look at some of these swing trade names. Yeah, so a lot of names like you should have on your radar are ones that had nice big bullish earnings moves. So this one had a nice bullish earnings gap, right? We moved up. It wasn't a strong close, right? Which I'm not always a huge fan of, but it's not like I'd say, hey, you know, and ignore it. So nice move here, and we're seeing this pretty tight consolidation on this trend line. And as it moved up, right, volumes kind of coming in a little bit here. So this is a pretty clear trend right here. So I wouldn't just enter in right here blindly, right? I would look for strength to come in. So I'd want it to break one of these highs because you can see like very clearly, right? You see a high, a lower high, a lower high, a lower high, right? So I'd want to see this turn back around. Now, understand that if you bought here, right, it'd be a better price to buy, except if you buy the breakout, you could typically have follow through, right? If volume and price comes up. And so there's pros and cons to each. But you just got to always respect it if it starts breaking down. As it stands right now, this is just trading inside the prior day in this current moment. 15-minute time frame, just a little choppy there too. Just like the market. Wells Fargo. A lot of banks look pretty good, but yeah, Wells Fargo. Talk about just a nice break here. And now it's getting here sideways, getting pretty tight over here. So yeah, I mean, one would think like if strong stocks get stronger, and this is a pretty strong trend, like this high is probably going to be taken out at some point, right? Whether it's soon or in a little while, but you get a strong move here on volume, right? A big break out of this base, and now it's digesting that. So yeah, like if you're looking to swing Wells Fargo, chances are, it could probably head higher, especially if like the 10-year yield and stuff start to rise too, right? Rising yields are typically decent for banks. All right, yeah, let's look at this action here. Yeah, nothing, still nothing on the markets. I would freaking love to see this and just catch people off guard, but this to diverge more. Now we're starting to get a bullish divergence, but we're losing convergence, of course. That's where you can have contra moves, but like to the downside. It's chop. It's not giving us a good edge here. But what I would like to see here now is the red line to come in, the green line to continue up, this to start turning more green, and then just get this monster rip to the next 0-day level, which was 51.75 at the time. It's just, it's just no one's reaching for it. Like, right? This is, we're just kind of pinned here to 51.50. People got to reach. They got to reach. If not, we're going to be just stuck for the day. Chop up, chop down, chop up, chop down, chop up, chop down. And right now we're, 9 points above it. So if we get pinned, we can pull right back into 51.50. So it would be nice to see traders reach and get a little bit of continuation or some sort of a move, right? Because what's going on now is just a very, very tight range for the S&P 500. Very tight. Hey, what's up for the, thanks for the Indian dude for the $5 super chat. BB in Wyckoff accumulation. Like BlackBerry? Ooh. I get the look of it and everything, and you can see some pretty large volume. I think that's always a possibility. Right, I'm assuming that you're saying like a Wyckoff accumulation, like right here, where you get these undercuts and you have price kind of. Yeah, sure, that's always a possibility. We'll know obviously in hindsight, but just understand that the trend is still pretty bearish. And what is BlackBerry doing, right? I know it's a highly shorted name, and that's what really throws me off too, right? I'm pretty sure BlackBerry has a high short interest. Let me pull it up, see what the short float is. That's not that bad. It's not crazy. I don't know if this is updated, but it says like almost 10%. So yeah, I think you're spot on with assuming that, but you got to then go into kind of like, okay, but how do you trade that, right? So as it stands right now, when you're looking at this is clearly the level of resistance. And if you think of this just as a range, if we break the range, you can typically, a measured move would be 2 times the range, which would probably bring us up right to this gap fill. We'll probably have some overhead supply at this gap fill, and then we're still in a downtrend. So if we go out to the time frame, had a nice little crossover here, still well below zero, under the 30-week, under the 200-week, or sorry, under the 40-week and the 30-week, which is respectively the 200-day moving average. You know, the first thought that comes to mind is like, hey, would I be willing to like invest money into this and put money in there and just like let it sit? Because chances are it could go up a lot, but then come right back down, and then go back up and then go back down, or it can break down and then could scare me out and then come back up and do a lot of stuff. There's not like a clear trend other than down right now in the longer term. And then it's like, what? I don't know anything about the company anymore, BlackBerry. Like, what do they do? That's also kind of like a little bit of a risk there. And a lot of these moves too, looking at this, like look at the daily time frame. These moves, like you get aggressive move up, but then just it's followed through like with just a slam to the downside. And they weren't even on that large of volume. Like this day, like that's so weird to me. This down day right here, it was on less volume than this day. And this down day was on less volume than this day. Just weird price action. Yeah. Yeah, so 320 would be the level that I'd be kind of keying in on. Price can come up and consolidate and get a little bit tighter, offer up a better risk to reward. But right now when I look at this, it's like if I enter here, where'd my stop be? Right here? Maybe. Right here? Maybe. But that that drop from this area to here, you know, that's 12%. Okay, that's fine. But 20% down to the low. Like, and then you got to think, okay, well, how would I back into that kind of risk? Like, what would be my position size? Or would you look to like play a spread if there's options on it or whatever? I don't know how liquid that is. Some hedge funds accumulating. Yeah, maybe they got something on the works. Maybe they're doing something. Maybe they got something coming up. Then it would just need a news catalyst to kind of trigger it, you know? Hey, what's up, Tease? Hey, what's up? Good morning, Ruben. Andrew at 250. Cool. Well, best of luck. Hopefully it plays out. It's, if you started at 250, you started literally at the bottom, dude. You got to find entry. You at least give the room to run. Establishing a new entry where it currently is at, it's kind of like in no man's land right now. Yeah, but if you got in at 250, that's like 4 cents from the low. Is that the all-time low? It might, I don't know if it's the all-time low, but that's one of the lowest points. Killer entry. All right, market is getting us chopped up still. Trading within the last 30-minute candle. SPY, S&P 500, still outside of its daily expected move. Market net flow, still holding its bullish little crossover here. So that's a positive sign. 514 is becoming this little magnet level, and we're 16 cents away from it. Let me see if I can look by strike. We're still holding above the 513, obviously, and that was kind of like one of those bigger levels that price can repel from. So we pull into 514, 513, maybe that's, and we can hold this bullish divergence, which it's not really diverging at all. They're pretty much in the same exact area. Maybe that gives us the steam. I think it's anybody's game right now. I think it's anybody's game. I wouldn't necessarily look to short this. I wouldn't care about trying to catch a move down to 5150. I'd be more interested in catching a move to the upside, especially after a gap up and so forth, or looking to buy the dip into that. I find that to be a little bit easier. But if you short intraday, sometimes you get like fast breaks. Like you can get a fast move to the downside, and you got to be a little bit more aggressive on it. So basically, I'm just not trading it. Make it simple. I'm not touching it. It is an ugly day. It is an ugly day. BlackBerry home furnishing. Maybe it's a cybersecurity company. Is it considered cybersecurity now? Maybe it is. Not that I don't like to short. It's just I make a lot more money from the long side. That's all. I short on occasion. I'll go short. But it's also like if I don't short, that means I don't open myself up to losing money or making money. And if I just stay long, you know, if I can remove anything that can potentially lose me money, where even if I'm flat on the day, like if I don't trade short right now, okay, and if it goes down, okay, I didn't make any money on it, so. But I could have lost money, right? So I like to trade with the trend. And like I said, I will short. I'm much more tactical in my short approaches. Like I'll fade a very strong move. This isn't a strong move. This is just chop. And I've done that many times. I've faded strong moves, but I don't like to swing long. I like swing shorts for like too long. And if I do, it's like, obviously it's a smaller position. Actually, if you are trading your positions to the short side and those are bigger than your long positions, you got to be very, very tactical, or you'll probably end up blowing up at some point. That's just how it's going to be, because shorting is significantly more harder, significantly harder, and you have to be much more quicker and tactical shorting the market, because you get face rippers, right? And then you have to withstand the face ripper, and then it has to come back down. Yeah, a lot of my shorts are actually just hedged. It's not like the short is the hedge. It's like, hey, something went way overboard and I'm like putting on a short, but I have longs on too. So I'm not typically net short. Like I don't go from like net long 60% of my portfolio to net short 60% of my portfolio, right? I don't do crazy stuff like that. If my max position on an equity is like 6% to 10% long, my short would be like 3%.
UAE's first passenger carrying demo flight. Echo Hotel.
Still nothing. Around 51.50, so price would be back to 51.50. Just chopping here. Let's take a look at NQ. See what NQ is doing. NQ is above its opening range. First 30-second opening range, just right here. You have the high, the midpoint, the low. Yeah, it's like good luck trading this, you know?
Intel reportedly is assembling a team in Japan for chip making automation, according to Japanese press.
Intel. Man, I ain't doing nothing. Yeah, we'll take a look at NVIDIA.
Intel partnering with 14 Japanese companies to develop technology to automate back-end chip-making processes like packaging. According to the Nikkei report on Intel.
All right, let's take a look here at NVIDIA. Yeah, NVIDIA is moving, man. NVIDIA is a strong move today. 3.3%. Also just kind of chopping around here, though. This is a gap, ramp, and camp. That's exactly what it is until something changes significantly. Energy is the leading sector. Energy is catching a bid. That's good. Let's see what the dollar is doing. If the dollar comes off, that might help a little bit too. But the dollar, look at the dollar has been holding up. Like that's a little bit of a concern here. Look at the dollar moving up. Like that can put pressure on market. And look at the market pulling in now. See? Yeah, go figure. Dollar starts making a run. Why isn't it updated on the daily? That's weird. Apple's negative on the day. Sitting around the lows of day. Seeing these lows, lower highs, breaking these lower areas. Not the greatest look there. NVIDIA is the saving grace here, and Meta pulling in a little bit from its high, but still nothing too wild there either. And we pull back into the daily expected move right now. Seeing a little bit of a bounce from there. Yeah, nothing. Oh yeah, we came into the 514. Yep, 514, and that right there is a good, potentially good level. So you still see, well, 513 is becoming a magnet now. So if we start breaking 514, 513 would be the target area. But if I look at the strike on SPY, 514 and 513, if price can stay above it, price can repel upwards. It's just we're gonna need market net flow to kind of help us out here. It's just not. $513 is down, way down here. Just cracked the low of the 30-minute candle on SPX or S&P 500. Yeah, the dollar up. Yeah, the dollar move right there that we just pulled up was very like suspect. That was a little concerning there. Look at this move on the dollar. That's going to put pressure on markets. Probably look at the 10-year yield too. Yeah. 10-year yield's not doing too much right here. It's up a little bit on the day though. Right? Yeah. Or is it up on the day? Yeah, very slightly. It's pretty much flat. It's the dollar right now that's moving things. The dollar's doing it. That dollar move right there. Boom. NQ coming back into the opening range here. 30-second opening range. We'll see if that does anything. And then we'll anchor in a VWAP to the swing high over here. See if anything happens or comes back and tests within that area. To fly away. Apple new low of day. Yeah, I'm not interested in any of this right now. SPY's still up about 0.5% on the day. Oh, man. Getting quite a bit of volume here, actually, on this little pullback on NQ. That was quite a bit of volume on that little break. So keep an eye on 5150 there for the SPX, S&P 500. If price can come down to that range, I'd really like to see how it kind of interacts at 5150 for potential play. Your friendly neighborhood dollar. Your friendly neighborhood dollar. Oh, we've seen a lot of these happen already. So, I mean, there's just been a lot of chop, but you see these big rips and then it comes back up. It rips it down. See if there's any kind of liquidity beneath us. Maybe they're targeting. It's just not a clear picture. It's not a clear picture anywhere. I will say that they're adding overhead right here, so that's pretty bearish, right? If you keep on adding overhead over here, that could be bearish. But if you reclaim the daily VWAP, you know, which we're not too far off of, a couple points. See if market net flow changed at all. Market net flow, I mean, it gave us some insights where it was the bullish divergence-ish, right? But then there was no convergence. And you can have counter moves there, and we're getting that counter move. But still, it's not telling us, like, it's not giving us enough insight. It's not saying, hey, yeah, it's like super bearish here by any means. So a snapback right back to the daily expected move, right? So I would say I'm watching that 5150. If we come down there, maybe I can set up some sort of a trade. That would be kind of my idea. Got to just be patient within these ranges. All right, we'll pull up some more of these regular swing trades too. We had a few more to go over. Yeah, Tiva was one. Yeah. CTRA, I'll pull up CTRA too. Okay, yeah, let's do that. While this market's kind of doing its thing. That was a pretty strong move in the dollar. Let's look at CTRA. And Raker brought that up. I'm gonna look at the weekly time frame for CTRA. Good weekly looking chart for Quotera Energy. Looks like it's kind of coming into this little pivot area here. We saw some pretty wild like daily volatility over here on these last prior weeks, but the bulls definitely stepped back in, getting some shakeouts, but it is holding up pretty well right around this kind of 29.30 range. Strong move here. You have bullish kind of like move there on the MACD. It's above some of these key averages. I mean, that looks pretty good, especially on the weekly chart. I would, on this one, because it's moved so crazy here on the daily, like this right here would have just slopped me all over the place. Like, right, there's big move down, then gaps up, you know, positive earnings or whatever. Would have shaken me out. So if I look at the weekly time frame and set up from that point, even the 15-minute time frame looks like we just saw a strong move and now it's flagging. But yeah, you can set up trades from the weekly perspective. It would be quite nice. Good look there. PSTG. Pure storage. Even this on the weekly time frame looks pretty strong. Pretty nice little, you know, getting tight here. Weekly flag. I like that look. We broke above, on this week so far, we broke above the high of the prior week. And we've been kind of trading kind of tight there. Let's look at the daily time frame. You can see it here on the daily time frame. So you got to give it a little bit of room to shake and bake and move. But yeah, overall, pretty decent look so far. You know, you can have, this could be the pattern, right? So price moves strong and then it's contracting, getting tighter. So your stop would be down in this area. If you were to enter, that is right there. So you got to keep in mind that's like a 10% drop. So you'd have to make sure your position makes sense for taking a 10% hit if it's wrong. See a palm tree? Daily expected moves. How do I check those? I have a video on YouTube. If you just type in expected moves, figuring out money, you'll find it. But I'll show how to do the weekly ones. It's the same as doing the dailies. You just look at a different expiration. All right, what's the SPY doing now? Bouncing back, probably. Kind of. Oh, we had a little bit of a flush low, and then we're kind of just coming right back to the daily expected move. See if market net flow is giving us anything still. We crossed back over to bearish, but the bearish crossover, it's still no convergence, which means you can have counter moves there. Chop. That's chop. It's chop. Downside watch 5150. Upside watch would be 5175 if people start reaching further up. Yep, net flow cross back over. Yep. This is just not one of those. Not a really great trading day, or not a day. It could be for some people, but it's these range days. It's like what do you do, right? Fight it over and over and try to get a few points here and there, maybe, but it's a chop day. Gap, ramp, camp. That's what we did. All right. So if for example, right here, if you shorted this, you have to be very tactical because that would have been a nice little catch, but then it rips right back in your face. We're positive gamma, Rafiq. Let me pull that chart up for you. Yeah, we're getting a move right back to the swing high daily VWAP on NQ. I'm gonna pull this up. Yeah, so the gamma flip line is down here, 5120. currently. So we're well above. We're in positive gamma territory. We're above a rising 5-day moving average. I think it's rising at least. It will be rising if it's not. There it is. Yeah, it's rising. It's kind of flat, but it is rising. The target for the week, upper weekly expected move is at 517.59. Happy Monday, Colby. Oh, interesting. Indian dude on the Michigan Trail. If you draw a line from 2000's top until the most recent high, we're at that line precisely. Cool. I'll have to check that out. I don't got that chart right now, but I have some older charts or some charts that are longer term that I can pull that up on.
Citigroup CEO Frazier.
Yeah, you're probably right, Jason.
Speaking at the Milliken conference, saying that they're working on a lot of use cases for AI right now.
You see what I mean about like your face, like getting potentially ripped off here. Like if I go into the SPY on like a lower time frame. Right, we're over 1,000 viewers live here on YouTube. Make sure if you haven't done so already to like the stream. It's greatly appreciated. And follow or subscribe to the channel. And then we got some people out here on Twitch too. Appreciate y'all being here. This is probably the biggest stream I've had or seen. I've never seen it in the thousands. So if you guys want me to pull up individual names, make sure to put them in there. Say what's up. And we got almost 700 people or so on in Twitter too. Quite a bit of people. Wow, it's a lot of people actually. Lots of people, lots of peeps. All right, who wants to go higher? Who wants to go lower? Where are we at right now? Are you rocket shipping or pineappling under the sea? What does everyone want? I'm interested. Does anybody have like a strong position right now? Hey, thanks, Snowflake. All right, we are getting some names in here in the chat that you guys want me to pull up.
Understanding of obesity and the diseases
We got
that
J&J,
are caused by it.
we got Neo,
Or AMGN.
we got Goog. Keep them coming. We can look at all of these. I'm here. Consider me just a trading buddy that's on a live stream, and I'm looking at all the chats. Can I suggest some good intraday stocks to trade? Yeah, I'm looking right now, and I'm just not seeing like a clear as day setup. I like to post stuff that's like makes sense, you know. And I feel like I'd just be fighting the tape right now, but something could change. Something could change. GRWG. Let's do it. Yeah, we got some names coming in now. Holy macaronis, Marty. Holy molies. KO. That's Coca-Cola. We got Tesla. Yeah, we'll pull up Tesla again. We got to go rocket ship. Yeah, let's bring up these rocket ships. NVIDIA. Oh, we got some people with some puts on SPY. I feel ya. I feel ya. I think puts or calls right now are kind of hurting. They're kind of just being chopped around, you know? Submarine. Kitesh wants the submarine. I got the pineapple. I got to do a submarine still. We got Baba. Yeah, some Chinese equities have been making some good names. Carvana. Qs. Okay. LPG. EU. CTRI. I'm writing them all down. 510 put, expiry Friday.
Seeing Al Jazeera
Going the money? Yeah, yeah.
Hamas
That's not that
sources
far off.
saying that Hamas has informed Qatari and Egyptian mediators of their acceptance of the ceasefire proposal.
Thoughts on EEM? Yeah, the emerging markets. EEM, just so you know, right out of the gate,
That's
a lot of
Al Jazeera
Chinese
citing
names within
Hamas
EEM. I think it's like
sources.
huge, like part of it. So I've been bullish Chinese equities. Even, yeah, like one of the names that I've been in was like DIDIY, and then I've shown like FXI, KWeb, and some other names within that. So I would imagine EEM's looking pretty good right now, especially if it's that a big holding is like Chinese equities in there. Okay. So EEM, UNH. Did I get UNH already? Yeah, UNH. I'll write that down. We need a condor nest for. Yes, it's true. Or a dojo, or a lumberjack mill, or a kangaroo. What the heck? Energy, so like XLE maybe, or energy names. I mean, I got a lot on my watch list. CRBU. That's a new one. I'm unfamiliar with that one for me. If the dollar weakens, we'll have better performance in emerging markets. Yeah, the dollar comes off. Carvana. I do think I have Carvana already. CVNA. Yeah, I got Carvana. LPG. Did somebody say LPG? Yeah, LPG. Okay, yeah. I'm in LPG, by the way. I have a position in LPG. ANF. Good names, man. Good names. AXP. American Express. Hey, what's up, Randall? Have fun. Too boring for me until the... Yeah, I feel you. I'm getting some weird feeling that we might... I don't know. It's sideways. We need to see some more positive things set up, but yeah, 20, I feel you.
Up only 0.1%.
Give me a second, sorry. Okay. Nearly a 1% flush on CL. So what's going on right now? Let me look at energy names. Yeah, look at energy names. Energy names taking a little bit of a dumpy dump right now. And FT just pulled up CL and said that there was like about a 1% drop in CL. Holy macaronis, man. Holy cow, that is a move there on oil. Jeez, dude. This market is just a funk master. Down percent. We're talking like these are 1 minute candles. In 3 minutes or so, 4 minutes, man. That was a 1% drop. Crazy. That is some wild moves. So, and the S&P 500 is getting up a little bit. So what is the dollar doing? What is the dollar doing in this? Did the dollar just like, oh, dollar's still holding up strong. Oh man, this is weird. What a weird thing. Did something come out for oil? Was there like some, oh man, just weird stuff. Have fun with that, jeez. Give me a second here. Coming back up to that kind of sticky point, that 514. So we came down to 513.70, and that was kind of the downside watch was this whole 513, 514 area. And now we have a magnet up here at 515, which we're not far off. It's we're kind of actually far off, I guess. It's SPY. But if the magnet gets 515 would be up here. So that would be the kind of the reach. Market net flow is still nothing good. And they're not really reaching that much further out than 5150, and we're above that level right now. Actually, I'm curious, where are we on, if I look at CBOE?
Let's see more wires picking up on this Al Jazeera report of Hamas telling Egyptian and Qatari mediators that they've accepted their ceasefire proposal.
So I'm wondering if that was what just triggered the moves in oil. Kind of some geopolitical stuff happening. Very big snapback too. Very, very weird shakeout move there. Oof.
Crude futures remain volatile now for about 0.4%, 78 spot 40.
Yeah, that was probably what it was. Ceasefire proposal. Maybe. Yeah, it seems like is that kind of that news from the Hamas tells Qatari. So 9:33. So about 5 minutes ago, it had to have been that's what probably caused the move. But reportedly, Hamas tells Qatari and Egyptian mediators that it accepts their ceasefire proposal. I don't. And yeah, oh yeah, and then it says related names as USO, USD, JF, BNO, ISRA. Oh, that's all it was. Yeah. I can't trade that stuff. I'm not fast enough to move like that. Sometimes there'll be more names like an equity that I'm more familiar with, but that was wild. I didn't really wasn't paying attention to the voice when it came off. I was thinking about something else. But that's what it was. 9:33. So let's see how quick it came up. Let's watch. Let's see here. So 9:33 was 1, 2, 3 right there. I mean, gosh, that thing was already here on that news. Usually they're above it, but I mean that was quick. Pretty strong moves, man. Strong moves. So careful in energy names now, right? I mean, energy XLE is still looking good, but you can see that it's coming off here. A little bit of volatility there. So now I got to go look at my energy names. Give me a second here. Fun times, yeah. See, it was up a lot more, and now it got clipped, of course. I'm up 4% on this name. I think I'm just going to clip this in half. I'm just going to clip it in half. I don't want to deal with any more volatility. I don't care if it goes up or down right now at this point. It's one of the leveraged energy ETFs. So I clipped mine in half, but I entered into that the prior day or so, Friday or Thursday, I can't remember. Now my other energy names, I'm just going to hold on to for right now. They're still down. One of them's up pretty good today, up 3%. SDRL. I think earnings is coming up with this one soon. Yeah, nice move on this, but I'm kind of like flattish on this trade. So I don't know. In those last 3 days, big moves here in SDRL. I think I'm going to just hold my position there. And I think I have STNG too as well. And I'm pretty much flat on this one too. Slightly up. Sorry, slightly down, not slightly up. Small positions, but STNG, also another one coming into earnings. So I might be trimming these things and clipping them or clipping them. I haven't fully decided yet, but this one also, you have lows, higher lows building into these pivot areas, 73, 74. So not a horrible look overall for this. And even SDRL, although SDRL is seeing a little bit more turbulence. And then somebody had mentioned LPG, and we're going to pull up those names that everyone wanted to see too. But LPG, I entered in on this day over here, I think. And now it's kind of been just going sideways, kind of drifting up higher. Okay. They accepted the ceasefire, Egypt, not Israel. Okay, gotcha. Thanks. Let's take a look at the S&P 500, and then we're going to be pulling up these regular, all these other names. We got J&J, Neo, Goog. What's Grog? Oh, man. Did I type this in wrong? GRWG. God, these spell checks, man. All right, we still haven't overtaken this supply above us. That's at we got about 400 contracts, 800 contracts, almost 1,000 contracts kind of spread out here. So if you want to get more bullish, it'd be nice to see this stuff just some demand step in and really start eating that away. And you can see that's basically what we're seeing here. It's getting hung up in that area all day. So we made attempts to get up into it, and then it gets kind of rejected. Market net flow, it's still not giving us anything. Zero date. Are they reaching further now, finally? Not really. If we make a solid break, though, if we make a solid break of this, you might see that change. I'm still feeling like I'm leaning more long to play to 51.75 today. It's just... Damn, it's choppy. All right. Give me a second. Sorry, I gotta text this. My wife is asking for me. Give me a second. I'll be right back. Pull up all these names, okay? Right. Almost 11 viewers now. Wow. Welcome. A lot of people probably haven't been here yet. Let me know if it's your first time on the stream. That's pretty crazy. You bought some more uranium? Nice. Cool. How's that going for you? I haven't seen the uranium stocks for a little minute here. I used to have one of the CEOs of a uranium company, kind of like on big name in there, and it's been doing pretty good since we've had him on. Yeah, that's for sure. So, are we going to be going into the rocket ship today, people? Are we going to be doing it? Are we going to go for a little rocket ship? Are we going to be flying high? Or are we going to be going? Oh, not Tesla. Are we going to be going into a pineapple under the sea? We're going to sink down and eat some Krabby Patties together. And everyone's going to be crabby. Krabby Patty. All that and more on today's episode. What are CTAs doing? CTAs came off actually quite a bit. CTA positioning came off quite a bit. So now they can go long. Yeah, if I can show you CTAs. I gotta get out of here or not get out off the stream, but I gotta go. Come on, right, really quick. Context. Where's the systematic flow? CTAs. So CTAs have come off. We get that downward convexity. We've been talking about that up here for a while, and then we finally saw that downward convexity, and it's like this move. But now it's it's a lot more neutral than what it was. Okay. I haven't, Glenn, or maybe I have, Glenn, but I don't. I might have looked at a lot of them, but I don't have like that specific like sector in my head, like, oh, utility plays around AI. But I may have looked at the charts already, and they might be on my watch list. If there's any names specifically, maybe I can look into. But a lot of the ones that catch my attention are typically the charts. They catch my attention first, and then I kind of go from there, from that point. All right, give me a moment. I'll be right back. Let me some nice volume right here. Are we doing this, people? Are we gonna go for it? Are we doing this now? Is that what we're doing?
More commentary from Chinese President Xi saying that China seeks cooperation with France in aviation and AI.
AI, people, AI. We do have some bids stepping up here.
Fed's Barkin does not see the
there's Fed
economy
Barkin.
overheating,
Oh, that's what's going on right now. We got Fed out.
Is confident that current restrictive level of
It's
rates
950.
can curb
Time
demand
flies,
enough
dude.
to bring
We got
inflation
Fed
to
Barkin
the
coming.
targets as Barkin. Inflation data this year has been disappointing. The job is not done yet.
Powell,
Strong labor market gives
POWL, is
the
that the
Fed time
stock, right?
to gain
You're not talking about
confidence that
Jerome Powell,
inflation is coming down, says Barkin. Shelter and services prices risk keeping inflation over the 2% target.
Give me a second here. Let me check in these positions. Push those homes.
The economy is moving toward better balance.
Oh, is it? Is it now?
Businesses are still looking to raise prices if they can. There's a risk.
If they can.
Shelter and services keep headline inflation above target.
Okay. All right, I'll be right back. Give me a second here, and I'll be right back. We're going to pull up these names. But S&P 500 is making a little bit of a move. Still haven't absorbed all that liquidity overhead, though. See if anything's being added up above. Got Fed talking, and in a few minutes here, 10 minutes or so, we also have Williams, both voting Fed members. Okay? I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Okie dokie, artichokes. I'm back. That's how we do it. What happened? What happened? Nothing happened. Got a little bit of liquidity added overhead there. Quick break, be right back. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and remove that off my screen. I like this, okay. No Chick-fil-A sauce? Oil's moving back up. Yeah, that was a pretty strong move. You would think that we'd have some sort of a snapback. Let's take a look here. CL. So aggressive. Yeah. News reaction. Boom. I can't believe that was a 1% move, man. That was wild. Let's take a look at the dollar, see if it's doing anything again. Dollar was holding up rather well. Still is. Ugh, God, man, that does not look happy. There's these consolidations. They keep on ripping it. I mean, it would be nice if we're going to go to 51.75, like you'd want to see the dollar drop. And it's just interesting to me because the market's holding up rather well. The dollar's holding up. Actually, the dollar's technically trending. All right, it came back and it's starting to trend up. But the dollar does come off. That could be what propels us here. Fill that up. There's like 800 contracts, a little bit more than that. See if market net flow is giving us any more insight. Still nothing. Still nothing, man. It's a nothing burgie. Nothing burger. Thoughts on Palantir? Yeah, we'll pull that up too. I've talked about that one a little bit already. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and now look at these individual names for everybody because everyone wrote out their names. A bunch of different names that we'll go over. We're gonna look at the daily time frames. And then I put Palantir back on there so you know. Want the market to retrace? Yeah. Nvidia's looking tight. Actually, okay. I gotta look at Nvidia really quick because Nvidia, man, if that's gonna tighten up and move, yeah, I mean it's moving. It's getting there. I see what you're saying. I don't like these lower highs, and it keeps on getting clapped at these like lower highs over here. But yeah, if this thing starts breaking out, man, that'll really help the markets out. It's crazy because we're not even that far away from 1,000. You'd think that they want to get to 1,000. Okay, let's look at this. So we got J&J. A J&J on the roster. Okay, so first and foremost, I always look at the trend, and then I look at tight. So first thing I look at the trend, then I look to see, actually really the first thing I look for is to see if there's tightness, because see if I can even back into a trade, and then I look at the trend. If there's not tightness, I look to see if there's an aggressive move to the upside or downside where you can potentially even look to fade it. So as far as tightness goes, I mean, maybe you're looking at this potential kind of like, you know, flaggish type pattern in a bearish trend. So this to me is, you know, more bearish than anything, given the context of the trend. But if you look at the weekly time frame, it's been beaten up pretty bad, right? Yeah, man, look at this, like rounding out over here. So yeah, maybe a move back, but we've seen a lot of move back and they just get faded. So it's not the greatest looking chart to me, honestly, at all. Like, right, there's not like a clear direction, the clear directions to the downside. But even then, it's not like I would short here, right? If it maybe came back up when we started weakness like that, and you know short into that, maybe if you're trying to swing trade it. Daily time frame, earnings gap. Saw some wicked sell side there, and then right back up. Just a very hard to move, like, and like even if it's a bear flag, like I still wouldn't short that thing. Wouldn't want to short it or long it here. It's just a little too all over the place for me. I need price action to get tighter. Yeah. I'd be interested if to know what kind of your thought process is. Like are you looking to trade it? Like, okay, if I go into smaller time frames, like the 15-minute time frame, okay, let's recapture the 5-day moving average. And maybe you're looking at like something like this where you can just play a more shorter term like move. So maybe it comes back in and then breaks out like that, and then retest these swing highs. And then maybe you can do that where you can have your stop loss down here. That to me makes sense. So you can if I can't see anything on a daily or weekly time frame, you can go into the 15-minute time frames and get a little bit more tactical that way. That'd be one way to look at it. But right now it'd be like, if I entered in, where would my stop be, right? If I entered right here, I guess my stop would be here, right? So it's, you know, and then maybe it bounces up, but like, where am I playing to? Maybe up here. Yeah, maybe. So I can see that you can set up a risk to reward trade. It's just the trend and like where it's at. It's just, I feel like my nails I'd be biting my nails the entire time. So I'd have to do a really small position. Neo on the daily time frame, also one that's in a horrible trend. And is it tight right now? No, but the reason probably why this is getting on people's radar is because of the squeeze that happened. Oh, it went up to 5. Can it go to 10? Right. But I like to wait for consolidations and tightness. And if you look at the trend, you got the trend against you, right? So you're having a counter trend move. Counter trend being that it's in a downtrend. You're getting a counter trend move. We did get above the 50-day or the 10-week, right? So, and then we're just trading around here. So if this comes in a little bit, tightens up, maybe it sets up for a smaller time frame trade. The 15-minute time frame, 5-day moving average is trending up. Price action went up today, came in a little bit. Now we're seeing a little bit move. So once again, it's not like a clear as day sort of setup, unfortunately, for me, as far as my style goes, right? You always ask, okay, where did price come from? If you bought, if you try from down here and it's up here now, but it was a one straight move, like we haven't even seen a higher low yet, because it's been one way up, right? So we have a high, a lower high, currently a lower high, and we have basically a low, a lower low, a lower low, and it's like we haven't even seen it pull down to see a higher low yet.
Agreement for their plant employees. Delta Tango Golf in Germany.
There's Neo. Let's take a look at Googie. I'm going to look at Google. Google. I actually like the look of Google. Google had a big old move up, right, on earnings, like a 2 or 3 standard deviation move on earnings. And then it came in a little bit on some declining volume, and now we're just trading kind of tightly here. So yeah, are we going to potentially come to swing high this? Maybe, perhaps, right? So what would I look to? This area right here looks a little sticky as we're kind of trading within this candle. So if we start, and this candle is getting a little bit tighter. So if we start breaking above the high of today, you could have a stop loss at the low and then try to play it to the swing high, or even, you know, up into this range, kind of this range where your risk would be right here. Smaller risk, decent size reward. I like that. And price action's getting tight. You might look at this and be like, oh, but it's a bear flag. Yeah, you might be right there too, but it's also would be technically a bear flag in bullish context. All right. So that's why you'd pay attention to the breaks on either direction. Now, if we break down through the low before breaking out to the high, then I would just say give it more time and see where it sets up from that point. 15-minute time frame, we're trading above the 5-day moving average, and you can see here more clearly the price action's kind of getting hung up right here at about 168. We're going to call it 168. Okay, so if we break out of 168, there's an air pocket here, and you could potentially play it in 172 or that 174, that swing high, and your stop loss would be simply just at the low of this day or the low of this day. That's how I'd look at that from a Google perspective. I'm not using any anchored VWAPs at the moment right here, but I would also probably apply anchored VWAP to some of this, right? Like if I look at Google, right? I'm not going to do all of this. Oh, hey, yeah, nice move here. Here we go. Cool. Rock on, dude. See if my order got filled. I gotta do this on my phone, unfortunately, right now when this is all loaded. Yeah, it's up. Oh, nice. Cool. Okay. Sorry, where was I? Oh, it said, oh yeah, the anchor VWAP. I'm not gonna even apply the anchor VWAP as right now. I'm gonna keep going because we're gonna focus on just the price action alone here in volume. Woo! And we'll talk about the S&P 500 again, because we did talk about that. If you are in the Discord, we mentioned it on the announcements channel, and then also today in the morning of this stream. So if you haven't seen that part of the stream, you can rewatch it later. Okay, so that was Google. Let's look at KO. There are actually a lot of drink companies look pretty decent. So they are tightening up. So these are looking pretty good to me. You can see that really for the year, these are lower beta names, so be aware of that. And they're not that much up on the year, but you can see we've kind of broke out. Now we're just getting really tight here. So if we start breaking out maybe the high of today, maybe that will give us the indication that, you know, we're breaking these smaller, lower highs. Right now we're inside trading, and that pops up to this swing high and potentially even higher. But that's not only the only one, right? So KO, but you can look at like CCEP, which is Coca-Cola Euro Pacific. Very same situation, right? Take a look here. Coca-Cola Euro Pacific, kind of butting our head in this pivot area and is getting a little tight here. That looks good. What about KDP? KDP is Dr. Pep. Keurig, Dr. Pep, right? You also, nice bullish earnings gap. That's out of the way, and it's flagging right here. So another good-looking name as it stands right now, right? Strong stocks typically get stronger. So I would imagine we could come retest this high or potentially even go higher. So that'd be one that I'd watch for, and then I'd want to find strength, right? Today it doesn't show the strength, but if we get the strength here in the near future. And then Pepsi is another one, right? Pepsi, PEP, is another name that's been going sideways all year, right? But we're getting some tight price action over here. So if we start to see some strength, that can open up some opportunities there. Okay, so those are so yes, you're on the right path looking at those. Whoever said KO, Tela, I'm assuming that's Tesla. In order to pull up Tesla, we do need to actually hop in the Cybertruck. So a moment, let me find my keys. Oh, there they are. Okay, good. Found my keys. Well, let's go ahead and hop into Tesla. All right, so now that we're in Tesla, let's take a look. Tesla on the daily time frame, this is what I was looking for. I do have a position I entered in, right? This was one of the trade ideas. It looked like price was getting kind of sticky on the daily time frame right over here, right about 183, okay? Or 180.
As Williams,
I'm just going to say 183.
We're seeing job growth moderate.
NVIDIA just broke high of day. Nice. Here we go, tease. Cool. Okay, so my thought was here. If we can break 183 and kind of hold that level, that to me says it opens the door for this move higher into the prior swing high. Or you can even, that would be like the kind of the target, right? Like where we can potentially see more supply. I'm not a huge fan on targets. And the reason why I'm not a huge fan on targets is because it can blow through that level, right? If I was also to say, I was like, yeah, the target could be this high. Like it might blow through that level and go here. So I'm more of like, hey, if it moves up, I'll update my risk, or maybe I'll take partial profits in certain areas.
Proposed by the FDIC, the OCC, and the FHFA.
My thought process here, though, is we had earnings, right? Okay, we gapped up. And then we had some news over China. Boom, gapped up again. Okay, so we gapped up. And now price pulled back here. And look at the volume. It dried up, right? It consolidated. And now I'm just playing the strength through that level. Okay? So there's a couple ways I'd approach this now that I'm long, right? Data. So first off, my stop would be down here right now. But now after today, seeing what happens, like, right, I'll look at the daily. I'll look at the 15-minute time frame. I'll zoom in, and I might change my position. But my stop might move up to the low of day of this. And then maybe, you know, if it shows strength and closes at the high of day or around in this area, maybe I might even move my stop up here. And then it's almost break even.
So out of the EU is
right?
quarterly putting forth a 14.
And I might be choking my trade off a little bit there.
Package against
like,
Russia.
Right? I'm not giving it the room that it needs.
Includes a ban on EU facilities.
But also,
being used
you got to understand the trend here is still
Russian
down
liquid natural
in Tesla.
gas.
So that's why I would do that. Right? If
Also
it's a beautiful bullish trend, it might differ.
Of goods, services for LNG projects such as Arctic LNG.
All right, so that's what my thought is on Tesla. Glad you guys like my new Cybertruck.
That's William saying eventually there will be rate cuts in the U.S.
Oh, wow. Eventually there's going to be rate cuts. Cool.
In unpredictable ways.
All right, so we filled that liquidity and overhead over here. Let me hop out of my car. We did fill that liquidity. Still getting some levels above us, and we're getting some supportive bids beneath us there too as well. Let's take a look now as price action is starting to break out. Our target area was that 51.75. We're not too far off. Let's see if traders are making a reach for it. They're starting to reach a little bit more to 51.75, but still the major area of concentration was 51.50. But they are starting to make some progress there. Let's look at market net flow. Market net flow is not giving us anything right now. So we really got to focus in on, I guess, the zero date. If this starts growing, even if market not flow doesn't support it, at least that's giving us some sort of edge that we might know of. I'm going to take a look into my position because I did get an order filled on that move. Okay, so I'm personally going to trim mine up a little bit because the position was I don't know if I mistyped this. I didn't mistype it. I think I don't know what I did, but it's not the right amount. I'm a little bit over my amount that I feel comfortable with. Okay. I'm just trimming mine in half. Just okay. Give me a second. Okay. The trade that I did was just long S&P 500. It was up about 200 or 300. So I trimmed it down in half. So now I'm just going to lead it, and hopefully we can get up to 51.75. If we can't, it is what it is. Then I'll probably be break even on the trade, or break even on the last remaining bit, as it completely just reversed on itself. All right, well, whatever. I'll take it. Okay. Let's keep continuing on, and we'll look at some of these names, and I'll go back into that. But as it stands right now, we did feel that liquidity. They added some more overhead, some areas, but we do have still some supported bids, and market net flow is not really supporting us here. It would be a no-brainer to hold more of a position right now if market net flow was supporting us. If market net flow was like green line was up, red line was down, and it might change, and this turns green, I'd be like, yeah, let's do this. 51.75 would be like, I'd be pressing it right now. I would be pressing it. And I would say that, but it's not. So I'm happy with taking some off and then seeing where it goes. All right, let's take a look here, and we'll look at some of these other names. So that was Tesla. We'll hop into NVIDIA. NVIDIA, somebody had mentioned as well. NVIDIA broke recently the high of day over here. Boom, 919.91. And then we pulled off slightly from that. And overall, like, we're still kind of chopping here on these smaller time frames. But let's look at the daily time frame. I mean, okay, so we have earnings not too far off. This day, right? We talk about this frequently on the channel. So if you've been watching, you probably already know that I've been saying this. But on this specific day, if you haven't watched the stock market brief on this specific day, you can go back and watch it and listen to the live streams and listen to what we said on this day. What we said was, when you see a big reversal like this on a strong up move with big volume, this doesn't mean that it's the high or the top, forever. Because we said it still looks like more like the one at least try to take it to 1,000. Just like when Meta was down, and we're saying it looks like it wants to take it to 500, these psychological levels. It's a period where you can see longer consolidations. And since that point, right, since how many days ago, how many bars ago?
Israeli officials saying Hamas approved a softened Egyptian proposal that is not acceptable to Israel.
41 trading days ago, we've been trading sideways, right? We're right basically, where are we, right? We're right basically in the middle of this candle still, 41 days later, all right? Seeing some volatility, right? We broke down to like, oh, it's over, and then it's ripped right back, all right? Trends, they don't go down without a fight. I'm sorry, they just don't. There's very few instances where you see a trend break, and if it's a trend that's being broken, there's probably a lot of other stocks around it being broken too, because something bigger is taking place. But trends like this, they don't just go down without any fight. You'll see, and this is what makes it so hard to short, is like, you're like, oh, I caught this short, and then now it's right back up here. Or like, hey, I shorted it here, I'm just gonna hold on to it, and then it snaps right back up to here. And then you're like, I'm gonna cover it, and then all of a sudden it drops back down. It's so hard to short. So right now, we're just kind of going sideways, and we're seeing some very strong price action to the upside, back into where this like volume was traded. I don't want to go long here because it's already made a strong move. So on these type of names, they're one, higher beta, way higher high implied volatilities, and then two, we're coming into earnings. So implied volatility is going to even go, it's going to swell up like a pufferfish. It's going to get even bigger. So I like to trade it intraday or shorter term swing trades. And, I'd look at this and I'd be like, oh, well, the price momentum oscillator is kind of curling over a little bit. RSI is a little crispy, and price action kind of been slowly drifting up. I would prefer to see some sort of consolidation pullback, maybe into like the 5-day moving average or this volume shelf profile, right? And it might not get there. And what does that mean? It means, well, then I don't trade. Another thing that you can look at is potentially just this little breakout area. We broke out, right? If it comes in a little bit, and then you can buy strength through that level, or if it maybe even retests it, and then you see strength after that and you buy that level, okay? But if I were to just enter right here, it's like, where would my stop be? Like under here, right? I don't know if I want to take that type of heat, 3% move intraday. Now, if I was to do this for more of a swing trade, I'm like, okay, yeah, I think that we're going to have some more follow through, because by the way, if you close the day, when you close the day at the high of day, you typically get follow through into the next day. Like, that's typical. You sees it frequently, right? lot of times it happens on the S&P 500, but there's times, you know, you can close at the high day and not, right, get follow through. Like, for example, right here, right? And right here, okay? But there's also times where it's like it closes a high day, it follows through, closes a high day, it follows through, closes a high day, it follows through, closes a high day, it followed through to the upside, right? So there's plenty of examples where there is, and you typically get that momentum. Now, we've had 3 days basically closing near the highs of days so far. So I prefer to see some more consolidation, tightness, and then play it up into this area or even 1,000. Now, if you think target is going to be 1,000 on this, where would your stop go? If you're just entering in right here, I mean, I would probably structure my trade to be under the low of this trading day, and then maybe move it up to the low of this trading day after tomorrow, if it doesn't come down there, which is about a 3% decline, to get a potential 9% move to 1,000, right? So that's be 1 to 3 risks to reward. I'd be risking 3% to potentially make it up to that, to 1,000. And if it did stop me out, you can always reset the trade up if it turns back around too. So I want to see something happen as far as tightness goes, but it just ain't there yet. And it hasn't been there. It's been loose and sloppy. That's sometimes the case in these names.
Banco Sabadell, SAB in Spain, reportedly rejecting again BBVA's
S&P 500 still coming in here,
proposal.
getting hung up a little bit. Pulling back through. Market net flow, like I said, it didn't really give us much. And our traders reaching out. So I think it was the right idea so far too. And they're still not really reaching too much further out.
More from the Fed's Williams
Right
saying
idea to
that
cut
he
some of
believes the
that
balance sheet wind
position.
down has gone smoothly.
But it's still holding up here. All right. So where do we go? We broke out of this little level and we're kind of sticking right back to the 1541 area where it got all hung up in here. Come on now. Come on now, peeps. Let's see, did I break even on these last remaining? I'm almost break even on the last remaining shares. And then I'm just gonna get out if it breaks down. And I'll just take the half the position wherever I was that got it out, and then I'll go from there, and that'll be probably the day for that. The background chatter is coming from Trade the News. It's a news service. Okay, let's go back into some of these other names. Baba, I know that a lot of Chinese names are getting a lot of attention after its pretty strong rally in in recent trade. But Baba looks good, right? Baba looks like it broke out of this base, and we're getting it back above the 200-day. That's positive. Now, the 200-day is still declining.
GDP between 2 and 2.5%.
So I want to do this really quick. We're here. I'm going to go back 200 days. It's right here. So it's going to be like, okay, so 200 days is right to here. Okay. So it's averaging basically the 200-day, which is the pink line.
Williams goes on to say real wages are improving.
The pink line, right, is the 200-day moving average. And it's averaging all this data up here, right? And then all this data down here. So as time progresses, we're going to lose some of this data. And if price action could hold above it, right? So we still have a declining 200-day moving average. And when the longer term trend is declining, you really want this to start turning up. So there could be very well times where we pull back in, get tighter, and set up while the 50-day comes in, while the 200-day comes in. If I look at the weekly time frame, it's been going sideways for quite some time. And you know, I know that people have looked into the fundamentals of this company and so forth, and they look great. And we're basically where we started originally with his IPO, if I go back even further. And while price action is going sideways, you have the MACD that's curling up, it's pointing up. I mean, I feel like this is a good name to have, especially if you're looking for longer term. But you got to still manage the risk, right? So we've had a couple of weeks basically straight up. We're still below these declining averages. And the longer we stay in this area, as more time progresses forward, these can start turning up. And that'd be a much more positive sign for something like Baba. Now, Chinese names, they typically gap. They're gappers, right? They gap and they move. So if I look at something like K-Web, look at K-Web's move. K-Web had a big move. Okay, and this is now the 200 days starting to flatten out to go up. The 50 days turning up. So all these names. So K-Web, for example, I'd be looking for consolidations. If these things start consolidating, I'd be buyer. And then it gives me better risk, right? So I'm still in my DIY position. So let's just see where that's at. All right, so I played this multiple times throughout this chop. through this chop in these tight areas, and then I would get out for break even, basically, maybe small losses. And then I finally got in over here again on this breakout and saw a strong move. So I'm up, 20+% on that position, and I've trimmed some since that point. So even these, like, you can look to add tightens up to play out. JD, there's a lot of different Chinese names that look decent. JD, huge move there too, declining 200 day. It's getting tight over here. Pinduoduo, PDD, right? Also pretty wild price action overall, but this little tightness led to a nice big move. So even if it gets tight again, would be one to watch. EDU, right? Another one. Maybe watch this trend line over here. Be interested in some random names like TIGR. This one's pretty wild, okay, but it's getting tighter up here. This is a smaller price stock in this downtrend over here. Let me see on the weekly time frame if it cuts some of that noise out. Okay, TAL. There's all kind. There's so many in TAL. More. I think this is a more education type company if I remember correctly. This one's pulling a nice little cup here, getting tighter over here too. So a lot of these names look good. FXI, right? If you want to reduce volatility a little bit, right? You can look at ETFs, but FXI, I mean, they played out of this wedge great. I just wouldn't chase up into these areas. Somebody had mentioned EEM, right? Emerging markets, right? What do you see going on? A similar move, right? So if the dollar falls off, takes a break, sometimes you can see emerging markets, do decent. But the reason why EEM is doing really good right now is because there's such a large portion in of China in there, right? Is there a market watch? No, I don't have it. Okay. But there's, a lot of exposure to Chinese names in EEM.
This is Israeli officials saying the Hamas announcement today appears to be a ruse to cast Israel as the side refusing a deal.
Dang, what's going on over there, man? All kinds of stuff.
Daily reverse repo operation, 67 counterparties taking $469 billion.
S&P 500 coming back in. I think I was probably stopped out on my position. I'm double check here. Yeah. Well, no, not yet, but I'm going to be. Well, maybe not. Who knows? Yeah. I'm basically break even on the last remaining portion of the position. So took a little bit of a profit. It probably is going to stop me out here in the very near future. If not, cool. If not, cool. Let's continue on. We'll look at some more of these names. Oil's going everywhere, man. Holy moly. Can't just have a clean shot, can we? Gotta be all difficult on these days. QQQ. Yeah, let's take a look at the Qs.
That's what I'm saying. Higher government debt means somewhat higher global rates.
We'll look at daily time frame. Okay, so the Qs, similar to the SPY, right? We talked about how we've been seeing this volatility, some wild volatility in this pullback down. What was that? What was the pullback here from the high? We saw almost a full-blown correction, right? Almost 10%. So 8% move back above the year-to-date anchored VWAP. Get this off of my screen. Oh, man. Who's here, dude? Dropping something off. I don't know what the heck that is. Okay. MNSO. Yeah. We'll have to pull that one up. I'm going to write some of these names down. MNSO, LLY. Jeez, I can't stand autocorrect. It's like I'm typing in what I need to type in and it just corrects it to nothing. KRE. Yeah, okay, I'll pull these ones up too. Okay, so Qs, I want to see if I can anchor onto the swing high over here just to show you. Okay, so first off, we saw this volatility. We saw lower highs, lower lows. Now what are we doing? We're starting to see a difference in change here. Right? You see a higher low on this pullback, right? Boom. And then we see a higher high. So that's a good positive sign here, right? And we're above the swing high anchored VWAP. So the idea would be that you want to hold the low of this day, right? And if it doesn't, you'd want to wait to see how it tightens up and potentially goes back, or if it comes back in all the way. So I'd wanted to hold the swing high. From a psychological standpoint, right? What do you think is going on, right? All this volume, all these people that traded this downwards, right, has been underwater
More from
up
William
until the
saying higher
last two
government
trading
debt
days.
means somewhat higher global rates.
Okay, and then would you establish a new position here, right? I personally would not be looking to establish a new position right in this given context. We're seeing kind of just these gap ramp and camp sort of moves, you know, so it's not like my ideal entry point. I would prefer to see some more price action consolidate, see what's going on, because this was driven mainly by the news. And when I really start breaking it down, like if you look at the Fed Watch tool, I mean, let's look at what they all of a sudden priced in after the last jobs report, right? The market gets horrible news. Technically, it's horrible news, right? That's why you can probably hate Wall Street. Is like you get like, you're getting like somewhat higher inflation numbers, right? Or sticky inflation. You get higher unemployment, less jobs, like not a great jobs report. And then the market comes in and says, yeah, we're gonna go up a lot because, well, the market's anticipating rate cuts again. Now, the market doesn't really do good when the rate cuts come. We've seen that in the past. When the rate cuts come, you actually get a lot more volatility. I don't know if it's going to be the case this time around, but the market said, yeah. Now we're back to September again. So 2 rate cuts, 1, 2, right, for the remainder of the year. So we'll see if that holds true, if Jerome does do the cuts or not, or the Fed does the cuts, but the market's getting excited from that. What I found interesting, though, is they're getting excited, but yet the dollar didn't really back off. Gold didn't really back off. All those assets that have been like showing some strength from an intramarket perspective that have typically bad correlations, they didn't really back off. I mean, look at the dollar, right? The dollar, this was on the jobs report, and it recovered its entire thing. We're just basically in the same exact area. Very weird. Okay. Carvana.
Seeing Israeli press reporting that Israel government is studying updated ceasefire proposal.
Okay.
Latest report. A little more open-ended than the comments from an early unnamed Israeli official calling it a ruse.
A ruse. All right, so Carvana, I'm not looking to execute into Carvana. The daily time frame, obviously, we got earnings. It was a huge move on earnings, right? Heavily shorted name, squeezed up. Now, if you are bullish yet, like I would say you wait for the consolidations, okay? Like even right here, if you're on a 15-minute time frame, nice little consolidations moving up higher right here to maybe go back to 129. But I would prefer on a daily time frame to see price come in or whatever, go higher and then come in, you know, flag out, do something like that, where then it starts to break the high of day, where you can see it move back to the swing high and have a much more better stop. Because if I were to enter here, once again, where would my stop be? Maybe the low of this day, the low of this day. I mean, it's not the greatest execution there, in my opinion. I would prefer to see some more price action. But overall, I mean, it's coming up far and fast. You can see on the weekly time frame, see how it started getting above the moving averages and they started to turn up, and then it pulled back significantly back into these. You know, this could be the stage, the markup stage, right? And then it moved up a little bit, but then it even came back in, flag, boom, and then it did the same thing over here.
Report saying welcomes
There's a lot of names setting up like that. Look at MJ or MSOS, right? They're starting to curl back around, right? Starting to pull back in, start to see strength, boom. Okay, MSOS, same situation, MSOS. Dude, one of my largest trades this year was GLASF.
Seeing another comment from a Hamas official saying that Hamas agreed to a proposal that meets
not far as like position
demands,
size goes, but like for percentage gain.
Reconstruction.
See, same here.
And return of displaced.
Higher lows. Price action pulls back on the week. This is a weekly time frame, by the way. Daily time frame, it gets pretty choppy. And look at this. So we saw this big breakout here, right on the news. It was like the DEA says that it's not going to be like considered a hard drug or something like that. And you saw a lot of names start to pop off in the marijuana sector, cannabis sector, and now, you know, came in a lot, right? And now it's tightening up again. So these could be setting up again, right? If they're in bullish context, they're getting a little bit of, you know, pullback, right? It makes sense because, I mean, even like, what is ACB? Is that Aurora? Yeah. This thing was up 45% on the day, on that day. I traded this on the news. I didn't hold it for up for 45%, but I made, I don't know, 10% or something like that very quickly. And then now, like, look at this, how it's pulling back in, right? And then price action is getting a little bit tight here. So now if it starts breaking the high of this, dude, that might open the day. That might open for another shot, another run, right? It's just consolidating that recent run up. So these cannabis names look like they can be setting up again. You just got to be careful because these are some high beta names. Yeah, LPG, that was one I discussed a little bit earlier. LPG, I have a position in. I played the little trend break right here. It hasn't really gone anywhere since. I have my stop. I think it's still under this area right here, this swing low. I wanted to give it time to see if we can come up to this 49. But yeah, we did break this lower trend. It's kind of going sideways here. I think we have earnings around the corner. Overall, it's a good looking chart. It's a good looking chart. It went far and fast. We had the MACD curling over here. The weekly time frame
has been a big event for the global economy.
I just like the risk to
saying
reward
that inflation would have retreated more swiftly absent of the Russian war.
EU, wisdom tree, Encore Energy. Yeah, this looks good. This looks good. Look at it tightening up here on the right side, kind of right into this pivot area. Right? So a lot of times you get fake out, shake out breakouts, but this looks like it's getting pretty tight here, right? We're trading within this. We had actually a break today, and it came in a little bit. But even that, it's like looking like it looks like it came up, and now it's pulling back nicely here, above a rising 5-day moving average. The daily price action, it's not that clean, right? It's like choppy. So I would imagine this to be more of a swing trade on the larger time frame. But yeah, look, it looks good there on the weekly time frame. Zoom out even further. I mean, this thing it's made a pretty aggressive move already out of this pivot, so it might take a little bit more time. But even it's coming into these prior swing highs over here, this could, be a bigger breakout in the near future. That'd be incredible. But it's giving us tighter risk as price action's moving into that pivot area. So even if it comes in and stops us out, you're not risking crazy amount, right? That would be a 16% decline, almost 20% decline. So you'd have to adjust your position size to make it make sense if you're going for a larger move, right? CTRI. CTRI.
Williams acknowledging the low volatility world may be behind us.
What? Low volatility world? Is he referencing the market, or is he referencing like the reports? Would have been helpful to know that, because why would they be commenting on the market volatility right now? CTRI, not much data to go off of right now, so it's a little bit of a shot in the dark for me on this one. I can't really add more to that. 15-minute time frame, it's below the 5-day moving average, which is declining. We've been chopping around. It's not giving me much right here. EEM, we already discussed. UNH, so one of the larger holdings in the healthcare sector, right? And the Dow. I'm gonna go to the weekly time frame because that gives us a little bit clearer picture. You can see that the down weeks are quite more aggressive than the up weeks, and we're below the 40-week, 30-week, and above the 10-week average. Now, we did see a strong move here because of earnings after selling off aggressively all year. So we're technically down on the year, a little bit here, 6% or so. But these last two trading weeks are trading within this candle, and you can see the bulls keep kind of stepping it up. We have a high, lower high, lower high, a low, and a lower low. MACD is starting to curl around. So if we do start seeing the break above, the high of this week or the high of the prior week, maybe that opens the door to see a pop back up into these moving averages. Just keep in mind, like even right here, so you can see it's kind of flagging. That's a good look. So if it comes in, boom, you can have an ideal stop, and then the 200-day, it's flat to neutral. The 50-day is the one that's declining, but it's good to see at least a neutral 200-day. That means there's not a trend, right? There's no trend there on the long term. It's more sideways. So the medium term, the 50-day is what's pulling down. So if we can break out, this can start eventually turning back up or sideways and neutralizing. The 20-day picks up, and it could eventually set back up like that. Would be the bullish case, okay? The data that I use for Bookmap is DX feed. I want to see if I was stopped out. Was I stopped out? Was I stopped out? on, load up, man. Load up, load up. No, I wasn't. I stopped a little bit on. Cool. Okay, so let's continue on. XLE, so energy. Yeah, XLE, we've been seeing a pretty significant pullback over here, but this is a pullback after a large run. And I drew these little trend lines on here, and we saw some strength from this level, and we're getting some follow through. So even off a bounce, if we go up higher, I would still look for some higher lows to accumulate, and this could be potentially a big old bull flag to head even higher, and it's just consolidating. But on the bear side to that, you have your low, a lower high, sorry, a high, a lower high. And when we've been running into this, this trend line up here, we've been seeing aggressive breaks down. Okay, so just be aware that trend right up here would be something that I'd be watching for. You could very well anchor in a VWAP, right? If you're looking at the daily time frame, you can anchor in something right over here. Okay, and you can see maybe where the prices from this high are going to another time frame, and maybe it'll clip it a little bit better. And then even from like this breakout over here, right? I'll create a alpha trends anchor VWAP right there. You can see that price is actually holding. I don't know why, but I was watching this trend a while ago and we broke out pretty strongly here. And if you place an anchor to that strong move, look at where price is kind of doodling around here. So it's holding that, and it's above the year-to-date anchor VWAP. So perhaps it pinches through this, gets tight, and then makes its move for a better risk to reward trade. Be a potential path there. All right, let's take a quick look at the S&P 500, see if anything's changing here. Let me go 15-minute time frame. Market net flow not giving us stuff. It's bearish divergence, no convergence, which means we have counter trend moves to the potential upside. But it's not really worth even noting. 0 date level. Is anybody reaching out further? No, 5150 still remains the main kind of penny area, but the price action's kind of pressing higher still. So that's, positive if you're long, but it's really just kind of choppy. 5175 was the kind of the key in that I was looking for, but market net flow is not supporting it. 0 date's not supporting it. The only thing that's supporting me in my position right now is just not getting stopped out. That's literally the only thing. Like I was more entitled to get into a positive position earlier when things were changing. Now it's like, I wouldn't be looking to add back in right now unless things change or add to the position, right? Because in any moment, like if any moment happens, like we can be right back down here at 5150, and we should not be shocked if that was the case, given the context of market net flow and what the 0 date is telling us. So I'm not going to short it. Like I said, I'm not going to short that. We said that earlier today. I stick to that. All right, we got a couple more names to go over. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this stream. Let me know in the comments if you guys are enjoying it, if it's helping out at all, giving you guys some input, some just having a trading buddy by your desk makes a big difference. Sometimes we can't do it in person, but just virtually it's cool too. Calling into the help desk. Calling all traders. Okay, XLEU. Okay, CRBU. That was one that I didn't recognize. Caribou Biosciences. So I'm not like a trader of these biotechs. Like I just stay away, right? You can have big snappy moves to the upside, but then you have days that are followed by like, that was a 30% down day. Not my style of trade over here for these type of names. I typically stay away from them. I don't try to find the news or what happens. I very rarely will execute into one of these names. And if I do, it's because it's probably a positive trend and the price action is getting tight and I'll try to play it. Like, what was one a while ago that I tried to trade? ROIV. I'd still be down to trade this one, right? This is Roivant Sciences, but look at the weekly time frame here. Dude, actually now I'm glad that I brought this up. Look at the weekly time frame. Price action's getting super duper tight over here. Okay. A measured move of something like this would be like, and remember, these are just random lines on the screen, okay? So don't read too much into a measured move. But a measured move would take us back up to around that swing high. Daily time frame. Damn, dude. Dang, dude. Dang, Daniel. Back at it again with the white vans. Thanks, Old Testament. Thanks, NP. Weekly expected moves. I'll pull those up for you. Thanks, Daryl. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Johnny. Do the daily great stream. Yeah, daily for what, Joe? Need Coco to interrupt the trade. Share thoughts on Apple. Yeah, I can take a look at that. PLT. Yeah, I'm just looking at some of these now. Let me check in my Twitch chat here. Sure, it's all good. Trader Joe makes it. What's up, everybody over there on Twitch? Trader Joe and Moonraker hang out in there. Okay, yeah, ROIV. Like this to me looks pretty darn good, right? We're seeing low, a higher low, a higher low, a higher low. Now, I wouldn't necessarily be like, yeah, I'm going to enter in right here because it's already made a strong move. But dang, if we can get some tightness up into the 12 area, yeah, I'd be open to this. I'd be open to this for sure.
U.S. equity markets drift back up towards the highs of the afternoon. The Dow was up 118 points. The S&P up 34 at 51.62. Bond prices also are tracking a bit higher once again, with the yields, the 2-year holding just above 4.81% and the 10-year just below 4.5%.
Joe, I don't do these every day. I don't do them every day, but I do typically have a stock market brief video if I don't do a live stream. It's been a little bit hectic these last couple of weeks, month or so, because of a baby that I had. But I typically get like my thoughts out and then kind of set things up, things that I see in the markets, and I provide that on YouTube for free. So if you haven't, make sure to sub to the channel. If you haven't subbed to the channel already, get some insight there, and you'll get notified too when I go live. Where was I? Oh yeah, so ROIV, like, so yeah, some of the bioscience names, like I just don't get too involved in, but because they do move differently. XBI would be an ETF, right? You can look at, it's getting tight here after a nice breakout. So this could be one to watch. Let me look at the 15-minute time frame. It's consolidating here above a rising 5-day moving average. So these could set up, right? Strong stock stability gets stronger. It's not the greatest trend from a year-to-date perspective, but I mean, they could be setting up for another move. IBB was another ETF. That's a biotech fund. XBI, I think, has a little bit more beta to it. So yeah, that's more of like my style, more of my look than the other ones, but doesn't mean you can't make money on those other ones, right? It's just I'm not good at it. All right, Abercrombie Fitch. Okay, so Abercrombie Fitch, I mean, this thing has just been a monster. Like Elf, right? Big monster. Some of these retail names have been monsters. I actually wanted to see Levi because Levi was on my tight list this week. What else was on my tight list this week for retail? There's a couple of retail names that I was like, oh, snap. I think it was The Real was one of them. But yeah, Levi is also looking like it's setting up. So let me go to A&F. I'm actually wearing Abercrombie & Fitch right now. I get their soft tees in their packets. They're super soft, and they're just plain tees, no logo. I actually like them a lot. So you can thank me for this big rally. Thank you. Just kidding. So strong move. Now we're getting a lot more volatility, right? This is what happens, right? You get these long, strong moves, and then they go through larger base building practices, right? So this is what we're potentially seeing. I would say, yeah, watch the trend, but we're getting pretty substantial cracks right here with some big volume days. So look at the volume here on this day. Boom, distribution day, right? Over here, boom, big old volume bar right there. This day, not really that much volume. Some of these other days right in here, some decent volume, bigger than next. So we're seeing a little bit more crack showing, but if you are bullish, it'd be nice to see price action get a little bit tighter to give her a better risk reward, because after a strong move, it's like you enter in, it's like, okay, is your stock going to be way down here? And if so, like where's your reward going to be? Like way up here? Then you're reaching a little bit, right? Whereas if price action coils up and tightens up and then breaks, you know, boom, like say if it breaks, you have a tight stop, low risk to a potentially good reward, where you're already like a quick move up to here would be 2 for 1 on the risk. So I always price came from, like, where did price come from? Is it contracting? Is the trend looking good? The trend is looking good. It's getting a little bit loose and sloppy here. So when it tightens up, yeah, it'd be right back on the radar again. Be right back on the radar. Okay. Traders unite. BKLN on the weekly time frame. Ooh. What is this? Senior loan ETF. I don't really know what this is, but it is getting pretty tight. I don't know. Like that to me is scary as all heck. Senior loan ETF. I don't know what this is. And if I don't know what it is and I look back, like where I'm looking back, it's just basically sideways. I'd be hesitant in it because there's other names that like do trend. So I don't know. I'd have to look into what this is. Yeah, I really don't know. Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't heard of this one before. Super bad. I don't know what this is either. Yeah. Mara, is it going to break 21? Let's take a look at Mara. I mean, it ain't far. It's a few cents away, 40 cents. Are you wondering that because you're trying to buy options up into 21? I mean, it did break 21, actually. It already did. My bad. It got to 21.03. So, yeah, it is going to break 21 today. In hindsight, I know. Sorry, I just saw the message. But, yeah, it looks like it got hung up in that area, 21 there. So, now we're just pulling back, potentially a higher low if we start to see strength from this area. Seeing some decent moves in some of these names. These kind of let's see, Riot probably seeing a decent move.
Israel Defense Force saying that the Israel Air Force struck 50 targets in Rafah today.
Coin backed off quite a bit. There was some news overnight and it was like down. Wasn't it like down 7% or something like that? Or am I thinking Hood? I think I'm thinking Hood. Yeah. Hood, like they got some news, boom. But now where it's at, it's right back to where it was. Hood even wasn't looking that bad from the daily time frame. Nice consolidation, little breakout here. I'd have to update the Sailor to Shift tool to see because it started turning around. And if the Sailor Shift tool turns positive, I mean, I'm right back to where I was on crypto and stuff. Dude, even Bitcoin was looking really good, and I took a position in it, and I stayed into it till break even. And I got out, but where it was like over here. And then it like undercut. So that's what happens when price action gets tight, right? It was a nice like wedge pattern or something like that. And then it was a positive divergence. And then we get this whatever news or whatever happens and it rips, like it expands to the downside and then it turns around. But when it did turn around, it got back above the 5-day moving average. It came back in and then we saw some strength from it. Now we're coming right back down to that 5-day moving average there. I'm pretty sure the Sailor to Shift tool is still in a sell signal. So if I go to the weekly time frame, I'll show you where it kind of got clipped. I think that it was like right here-ish. Has it been that long? I can't remember. Oh, this is futures. I'd have to look on the other I'd have to look on the other one. All right, SMCI. SMCI. Daily time frame. So FJ, I don't really have crazy thoughts on this one. I'd be just watching this trend here too. You can see that's holding up rather well on this trend. In the short term, right, we cracked low. A lot of the market went down in this volatility, but we did see a higher low. The thing is, we see a higher low, and we're also getting, lower highs. So price action it's telling us that it's contracting, it's tightening up, whether it's going to be another snap to the downside or a break of this trend to the upside, maybe retest the 50 and move higher like that. I know that like a couple firms, they upgraded this to a buy, and it's been down since they did that. But that's what I'd be watching, is those trends and for price action to get a little tighter. But right now it's just a little too wicked and wild. Last time we really talked about it was, I think, over here where it tightened up like this. See how it gapped up and then tightened really quick right here? Then we saw the breakout, boom, boom, and then it expands. Right now it's just kind of a little bit loose and sloppy there. Yeah. And then when it's loose and sloppy, once again, you drive into the smaller time frames, like the 15-minute, and you could say, oh, okay, well, if I'm looking to trade it, then you can have like clear, like little pivots in the day, right? Where you can potentially like look to, be a little bit more tactical. So let's look at American Express on the daily time frame. American Express looks pretty darn good to me. So if financials are going to get another move, like these are a lot of nice little flags happening in financials. So AXP, big move on earnings, right? It's had some follow through and now it's consolidating. Boom, right? So if we start breaking up higher here, this is a little tight little 4 days right here. Boom, we can come retest these highs and potentially even move a measured move of a full flag pattern. So come to 250. So yeah, AXP I like. I think Wells Fargo was another one, right? That's flagging. Yeah, Wells Fargo looks decent. Capital One Financial came in a little bit here too. Kind of actually wedged out, broke out. Now it's kind of pulling in here again. So another one that might go back for that 150 marker. It's crazy to think that, because financials moved a lot, very far and very quickly. So now even XLF, if I were to look at this downtrend, we're kind of breaking that downtrend today. So are we gonna move again to make a higher high? Because that's what it is, lower highs, right, and a higher low. But we haven't actually met this prior higher high yet. And a lot of the charts that within this, like SCHW, Charles Schwab, this one also looks good, right? We broke out of this, we broke out, boom. Goldman Sachs, right? Another one that made a massive breakout of a nice base over here, right? And then we just massive throw over there. I think JPM, what was JPM? That got cracked, didn't it? Yeah, that one got cracked on earnings, but since it's been recovering pretty well, that's crazy to think, right? So strong trend here, so a potential move here. So yeah, some of the financial names look pretty good. So if you're wondering why the market didn't get hit further to the downside on all this volatility, it's because financials held up rather well. Energy held up rather well during all that volatility too. While tech kind of took the back, All right, we're sitting at roughly at highs of day now in the S&P 500. Let's see if we can find anything that tells us our target's going to be 51.75. Market net flow showing a bearish divergence, but no convergence, which means that we have the counter trend moves, which would be technically bullish, but still not really a good edge there. And then are they reaching further out on zero date land? And the answer would be kind of, but not really. I'm sorry. I'll tell you one thing. If you're on one of these streams, if you're your first time here and you're like, it's like not clear. When it's clear, dude, it will be clear as day. Okay? I know there's people here on the live stream that have been here on a clear as day. It's like, yeah, just don't, it's like straight up, yeah, do not short it. Do not short it. Look to buy the dips. Because the market net flow tells us that. People are reaching out further. And then you play it. Right? You just move and groove and move. That's how we do it. All right, let's keep on going on. We have POWL, somebody that asked about POWL. Nice looking chart, right? It's like this was a nice move and then a pretty long consolidation. So it's very hard to trade this tightness here, but I can see a couple of ways you could have done it. And now after the gap up, we're getting some move down. So big earnings gap. Okay, big volume, not the greatest close, coming in slightly here. I'd still be looking for it to tighten up and then potentially play to the swing high if it can tighten up. Right, but it is starting to. It's starting that process now. So you can go into the 15-minute time frame. I don't know if this is really one of these names that I would go into the 15-minute time frame. I think this is more of a daily, weekly type of name. But it is above a rising 5-day moving average. Right, weekly time frame, trading within the prior week. Yeah, you can see it a lot clearer here. See that base breakout, and then this right here was a lot clearer. See how tight that was? And we're getting some follow through. That's what you look for. So if you're in doubt, like always look at different time frames because it helps clear the picture, right? So a lot of choppy names, a lot of choppy charts. If you go to the weekly time frame, you'd be like, wow, it actually looks so much better. Like what we just did with ROIV, right? It's like pretty loose and sloppy, but you go to the weekly, it'll help you see things from a different perspective. PLTR. Okay, so people are asking about Palantir again. Okay, once again, Palantir earnings right after the bell.
Allies in the coming hours confirming that they did issue a ceasefire response there. Hamas, State Department statement here.
That's a good question, Matt. Why is VIX up on the day? Yeah. Well, actually, we'll go into that because that's a little bit of the red flag that we've been seeing today. Like that's a part of it. Okay, so PLTR expected move is $3.66 as it stands in this current moment, plus or minus, right? And we're at highs a day for Palantir. So we're gonna go ahead and zoom in here. Look at this thing has been moving since we've talked about it, right? $3.66. Like I can't execute into an earnings move myself. If I were to guess, I'd say it's probably going to go higher, right? That's just a wild guess. Why? Well, because it did at the last earnings and it's been consolidating and moving sideways here, right? The market looks to seem like it's already trying to forward kind of front run it. But the expected move is pretty wild, right? So we're talking like if the price closes there, one standard deviation of this move can bring us up to around 30 or back down here to and around 2140. So as you understand, like technical analysis doesn't really work here. I mean, it does because that's a form of technical. I'm technically looking at volume, right? Or volatility. Some might be like, no, it's quantitative analysis, it's technical, whatever. It's me looking at a chart, but then looking at the expected move going into earnings. And the expected move, right? If I were to say, oh yeah, it looks so bullish, well, it doesn't mean that if earnings come out and the market just slams the thing down or slams the thing up, right? The chart wouldn't really tell me that. Implied volatility is telling me that there's a high probability that we come and tag this or this, and then there's a 68% probability that we close within these ranges. That's just one standard deviation. We've seen names get 2 standard deviation moves like Google, right? Okay. Yeah, that's actually a fair point. Moonraker's saying if you think Palantir is going to do well, you can probably buy calls in other cybersecurity names more cheaply, or puts, if you're bearish. But like I can't execute into it. I remember I actually had accidentally a position in this one, but it was small because I was playing this little trend breakout, or maybe I wasn't that. Maybe I can't remember. But it was one of those things you kind of get lucky. Look at here. This is kind of interesting. This little area right here. Yeah, this prior resistance, then it turned into support, and it turned into support right here too. Seen it move from that level. I don't know. I know a lot of people that are really bullish this stock. Really bullish. If I look at the weekly time frame, I mean, this could be the see how it came down into an inclining 40-week, 30-week. Then it flagged out here again, basically, and it started to break out again. I mean, this is what we talk about. Like you have the, stage, 3, stage 4, stage 1, stage 2, right? Accumulation, distribution, decline, accumulation, markup. And we're kind of in that phase. I would consider this a markup phase, just given its context from where it came from. And there's names on the weekly time frame when you look at it that are just now getting into potential early turns of the markup. PayPal's one of them. PayPal is literally legitimately one of these names that could be in the early stages of a markup. Maybe, right? You always know in hindsight, but like it's above these averages. It could be tightening up here. It'd be better if these started turning back up. So it's still early in the process, but it's starting to set up. Weird to think, right? Especially in the current economic kind of environment, right? Where there's like something that feels like something is going to just break at any point. XLP, XLRE are the 2 names that are down on the trading session. XLF is leading the way today, along with energy. Interesting. But with energy and financials, that's why IWM is leading the way, because there's a lot of energy names and financial names within IWM, smaller names. So IWM's looking pretty decent here. Still following through at a gap up and go kind of thing. But overall, from a year-to-date perspective, it's not doing much. right? Let me do a market view of IWM. We're up 1.95% on IWM for the year. All right. Semiconductors is up almost 30% on the year. Bitcoin is up 25% on the year. Copper is up 20% on the year. The yield, 10-year yield is up 16% on the year. Silver is up 15%. Gold is up 12%. XLE Energy SPY is up 8%. Technology sector is up 6%. That's crazy to think that the S&P 500 is outperforming XLK. That right there is energy and financials. Holding things together. That's crazy. Is that even accurate? That's what it says on my screen. And what's crazy too is high yield is actually down on the year. High yield is down on the year. So HYG is catching a bid today. S&P 500 still remains probably roughly around the high of day. So the target for me is still 51.75. I thought I was going to get stopped out. I guess I wasn't. I might up it now because now I don't want now it's like, okay, I don't want to technically go break even now. We took some off. I took some off earlier. Probably right around where we currently are. Let me see if anything's changed from market net flow perspective. No, gamma. This is what makes it hard for me to hold the position, right? Because they're not really reaching out further. I would like to see 51.75 start to grow. We're about 10 points off, sitting at the high of day. Market net flow is not supporting us. Traders aren't really reaching out too much further. Let me see here on SPY if 515. So 515 is the magnet. So we might get hung up here in the next 5 cents on. I'm going to go ahead and trim up a little bit more just because. If it was more bullish, I would be like, all right, I'll hold a little bit more. I'm going to just trim up a little bit more. Okay. There we go. I trimmed up another 50. No. Oh, okay, no. Okay. I thought I got rid of all of it. I just trimmed up another 50%. So I'm now, I went from 100% to 50%. Now it's down now to 25% of the position. So I'll leave a little on to see if we can get up there, but yeah. Okay, MNSO was one of the Chinese equities that somebody had mentioned up. Yeah, even this now, we're coming into earnings, but yeah, look at this tightness right here. So nice move, right? We consolidated for 4 days, pulled down, and now we're getting pretty tight right here. You can see, right, one big bar up and then 2 inside trading days. Pretty tight price action. So this looks good too. Going into earnings, you never know what's going to happen. And this one obviously is pretty crazy, loose and sloppy. You might look at this and be like, hey, it's an inverse head and shoulders, right? We have this shoulder, this head, and this shoulder over here, which would mean a measured move would be like up to 30. Remember, those are lines on the screen. They're just technical moves. If I go to the weekly time frame, let's see here. It's above these key averages. The MACD looking pretty strong. And we're kind of just running into this lower trend here. Yeah, another good looking name. Another good looking name, right? MELI was a good looking chart. It was a little choppy, but that one gapped up on earnings. So I'd like to see how this kind of like consolidates. This isn't a Chinese name, is it? I can't remember, but a lot of people were asking about it. That chart kind of reminded me of this one. Or maybe the ticker did. Eli Lilly. I mean, we're just sideways chop. Sideways chop, Eli Lilly. Pretty strong move today. Weekly time frame, holding together inside the prior trading week. We gapped up on earnings, it's pulling back. And it looks like kind of like 800 would be the pivot area that I'd be paying attention to. So I'd want to see price actually get higher and then tighten up and then maybe make the break for it. Just a little like, I hate when it does this. It slops out and then comes in. But that's just what it does. It makes it very difficult to like get easy, clean entries, but yeah. It's okay. And then KRE was another one people wanted me to pull up. KRE. And I'll remove this, activate this, and then change this up. So regional banks. Yeah, it's interesting to me, the whole regional bank situation. I mean, it doesn't look horrible right here. You have the MACD turning up on the weekly time frame. Price action made a pretty aggressive move, so I'd like to see it coil here. But then just kind of coming into the slower trend here too as well. But you go to the daily, it's like kind of been crazy all over the place, right? See strong moves up, strong moves down, strong moves up, strong moves down, strong moves up, strong moves down, strong moves up, right? But it's above the key averages. So, I mean, things are starting to shape up here. Crazy to think, especially, I mean, financials look pretty decent in the current market, current environment, but also keep in mind we still have inverted yield curves. All right, so that was the list, man. We went through a lot of names today. Holy macaroni, my voice is going hoarse. What's the name of the platform? This platform is Thinkorswim. This platform is Bookmap. And then this platform is TrendSpider. I got a lot of different things up on my screen right now. Tools to help everybody out.
The Fed releasing its first quarter senior loan officer survey. Net 15.6% of banks reported tighter loan standards in Q1.
See if we get some moves on this. Yeah, market net flow, still no edge here. Zero date, still no real edge. Go out to the net gamma. 5200 is still the main kind of area of concentration. 5175 would be the next area still. And if we break 5175, I mean, I feel like traders can get us to 5200. Today, maybe not. Maybe not. But market's moving up here. Maybe they'll start reaching out further here. Maybe they will. I'm glad I have a little position on remaining. 5175 would be the target for me still for the remainder. There's nothing really bullish or bearish going on right now, people. From an internal perspective. If I go, let's take a look at the dollar. Let's see what the dollar is doing. All right, so we'll pull up also the VIX because that was mentioned. Yeah, the dollar is holding pretty defensively here too. So the market's moving up. The dollar is holding itself together pretty defensively. VIX. All right, we'll look at VIX future. No, we'll just pull up VIX and we'll pull up VIX futures later. Or VVIX and whatever you want to pull up. VIX is coming off slightly, but it is elevated. It's up on the day. Remember, markets can move up with the VIX going higher too. There's typically a negative correlation, but remember, this is the volatility of the S&P 500, and then you have the VVIX, which is the volatility of the volatility. Let's take a look at... if you're in the Discord too, by the way, you can go into the technical patterns reference guide or a channel, and then there it shows you what the VIX value is and then what that relates to as far as an implied move. So for example, if I do that, I'll just do it right now. VIX, because it gives you the 30-day volatility, right? Or whatever. And you could do the math and I have a chart that shows you, but so we're right now at 13.69%, 13.69%. It's not dollars, it is percent. Okay. So if I go out to 13, we'll just go 14. If I go to the daily, it's telling us basically that's the implied move would give us roughly about 0.88% to the upside, 0.88% to the downside, just under 1% when volatility is around these areas. Now it was a little bit higher. It was like at 14. So basically that's what it tells us is that would be the implied move for the day. Then you could break that into the yearly, weekly, monthly, but obviously it's different. So just a little thing there that you guys can use if you want to. Okay. Yeah, I know, huh? See, we've senior loans. Somebody was telling me to pull up like a senior loans chart, right? Or who was that?
have not yet seen evidence that inflation is
Maybe
on
that's why they
track,
brought it
says
up or
Barkin.
something.
Tend to imagine the Fed will need to take some edge off demand to finish the inflation fight, though some help from the supply side is still possible. Do not know if there will be revisions to the Fed's June SEP, says Barkin.
I honestly feel like
Recent
this is
data
just
makes you think less
all
optimistically about how
options
quickly
today.
inflation gets under control.
But there's like not a lot of volume, so it's kind of just like
on a stubborn road, says Barkin.
just a very weird trading day. Just not a clear picture, which gives me like a little bit of hesitation, but whatever.
Barkin says here
I'd rather be long than short
the labor
in these
market is
conditions.
normalizing, though some sectors that fell behind in hiring during the pandemic are still catching up. And still feels like the weight of risk is toward inflation, says Barkin. Barkin says at this point,
Barkin.
to believe that current rates are restrictive enough.
Fed members could move the tape, that's for sure, if they say something that the market likes or doesn't like. Ugh. All right, let's take a look here. Holding up. See what the 10-year's doing. 10-year backed off a little bit, so that helps. And then the dollar is still somewhat defensive. It looked a little toppy intraday, but we'll see here if that changes. A little toppy looking, but I mean, it's still holding a pretty defensive posture here. So it's just a very weird day. Like, honestly, like I feel like maybe it might shake markets if like the dollar just like broke out here, and then, you know, if like the dollar just made a strong move and then all of a sudden the S&P 500 just comes right in, and I feel like that'd shock people. But I mean, looking at where kind of like a lot of the posturing is from a 0-day perspective, like I don't feel like anybody should be shocked at that. Oh, now we're starting to see it change a little bit. Okay. So 5150, 5160, sorry, 5175, they're growing in relation to the 5150. Okay. Now is market net flow going to support it? Still no convergence, and it's a bearish divergence, so that's still a contra move, so like decent to see this. I would like to see the green go above the red come down, and then go to green on the convergence down here, and then it'd be a little bit cleaner, but okay. Yeah, I read chat. I have a couple of chats up. You're welcome, Tony. BitTorrent coin view. I don't even know the ticker for that. I don't really look at individual like alts like that. I think isn't that like an altcoin? I'll pull up like Bitcoin, or like Bitcoin futures, Ethereum, and then crypto equities. I'll pull up Sailor to Shift tool actually now that you bring that up. Or if you give me the ticker specifically for like trading view, maybe I can pull it. Okay, so the Sailor to Shift tool I'm going to bring up right now. So this is the Sailor to Shift tool. For those that don't know, it's measuring and mapping the rate of change between Bitcoin and gold for the last 4 weeks. I'm going to hide myself and then talk about it and see where we are. Beep, bop, beep, bop, beep, bop. So right now, we're starting to turn up a little bit here on the Sailor to Shift tool. Our sell signal was over here, and since that point, so basically it crossed down right over here, and then we've seen weakness all the way down to 56,000, so that gave us some insight into a potential drop. But overall, I mean, like, look at Bitcoin. It does look like it's kind of just consolidating and flagging, and this is starting to turn up. So if it starts crossing back above, it would be another buy signal, right? One of the buy signals was right here, boom, after the whipsaw, and then this last buy signal was there. So this strategy, it picked up this run, and it picked up this run. I mean, it picked up this run way back here too, right? And then saved us, caught a move, and so forth, okay? That's part of the strategy. those aren't just the signals, right? You see the triggers, you also have to have a trigger. So the sell signal is when it crosses down beneath it. The buy signal is when it crosses back above it. But then the trigger is the price action of the current week, wherever it closes, it has to get above the prior trading week. So for example, if we get above this and we close above there this week, the following week would have to get above the high of this closing week. And that would be technically that buy signal and buy trigger. So right now we're seeing, a positive move. As it stands right now, we're seeing a positive move turn here, but it's still technically it's still on its sell signal, sell trigger until further notice. So a lot of the crypto equities and stuff, right? You're seeing bounces, and this could be because it's changing here too. The difference between these rate of changes. It's been a pretty good indicator. It's been working so far, so we'll continue to monitor and see what happens here when it flips over. I'll be letting everyone know on Twitter and probably here or a stock market brief show when it happens. And if you're in the Discord, you can just go to the stock market indicators section and pull it up yourself. There's a link there to get it to it. Or if you want to build this chart yourself, I have a video on it and the strategy too. Just Google figure it out money, sailor to shift tool, or whatever. I can look at PANW. Yeah. There we go. Market's moving. Oh my God, the dollar's moving up here, right here, and the S&P 500 is pressing too. What is going on, man? This is a weird day. I mean, whatever. It is what it is, There's just like nothing. Oh, whatever. I'm just happy I'm on the right side of the trade right here, at least. But still, it's just a weird day. I'm like literally just thinking about just exiting and just being fully out right on my intraday trade position. Let me see here. Yeah, they're still reaching. I'll let it go. Whatever. I'll let it go. See what they can do. All right, PANW. Yeah, look at the dollar starting to move here, getting above this little high. Weird, man. Weird day. Yeah, PANW. Nice consolidation today. Higher lows building into this pivot. So, I mean, that looks pretty decent for a very short time frame. 15-minute time frame. I mean, also kind of nice. So very tight over here. And it's, kind of pulling into this prior pivot. Daily. Daily's still holding up rather well, right? So we've seen this kind of these, higher lows. And then price action got really tight here. And breakout, pulled back here. And it's still holding this 20 and 50 days. So I would say if you are long, I'd be looking for this as a stop. Or potentially this swing low if you want to give it more space. And, if you're playing it to where maybe the swing high over here, maybe even the gap fill. But yeah, I mean, this looks decent. It's just, you had this very bearish earnings move. You have a snapback, and it's kind of just been chopping around ever since. All right, so the move really was this trend break right here with a nice stop down here. And now it's a little bit far from that. So if it comes back in, maybe it'll set back up to have a stop here. Or if you're entering in here, you might have to just have a tighter stop. Because even if you had a stop like this, right, if your stop was right here on PANW, and you're playing maybe up to the swing high, or maybe this swing high over here, that's like a one, you're risking about 1 unit to maybe get almost 2. So you can set something up like that. And it's kind of clean, with how it's pulling back and then showing some strength from it. You might not have the perfect execution there, but you still it would make sense from a risk to reward standpoint, right? As long as you can make it make sense from a risk to reward standpoint, not like, yeah, I'm gonna buy here, I'll have my stop down here, and I'm thinking it's gonna go here. Then it's like, okay, well, you'll be in that trade for a long time, and you might be right and you might be wrong, big, And it depends on what you would like. What would you be willing to risk if your trade was all the way down here, right? That'd be like a 20% drop to get a 20% incline. So it's like, I'm not going to risk my portfolio on that. Intel for the week. Yeah, let's take a look at Intel. INTC for the weekie. Yeah, Intel's probably due for a bounce in the near future. I was very, very patient with Lululemon. Right? Lululemon's a similar one that got cracked lower, and then literally it was. I'm gonna chuck it up to luck because we pretty much timed it out of there perfectly. I don't have a position anymore, but Now I'm looking at Intel because I'm kind of thinking the same thing can happen. And we're kind of getting in that realm of a pop, but we're kind of getting faded today. So you got to be kind of patient and respect it. So if you go long here, your stop would be here. Like, you'd have to respect it if it breaks down. Because if it breaks down, or even if it turns back around, you can re-enter. Right? Like, even here, like, oh, it was beaten down, and then it started coming up, and then you're like, oh, yeah, I think it's going to bounce, and then on earnings, you know? Yeah, for sure, Will. I think we're near that point, but being near the point doesn't mean necessarily, as far as time goes, doesn't mean anything about price, right? Shoot, we can be ready to bounce on the 20th, but you never know, come down to 25 before then. we don't really know. So that's why I say, yeah, just always looked at where a potential like area would be. 5-day moving average. I mean, we're above that now, so, and it's starting to flatten out, so that's positive. So if you were to enter here, you can potentially even have a stop even tighter. And then if it breaks it, you're like, all right, whatever. Maybe I'll look for the gap fill. Maybe if it turns back around, I'll re-enter. And then you could even play it even tighter, right? Because if it did that and then turned around, okay, if you re-enter here, what's the big deal? No, nothing problem. You don't need to catch the low. You just need to catch the right price for a nice move. But I would respect, yeah, maybe even this trend down here, right? So you can look at it a bunch of different ways. Just make sure that your risk makes sense versus your reward. So, Lucid's pumping. Yeah, it is. Pumping from crazy levels. Yeah, wow. Yeah, look at that moving Lucid. See, I can't execute into this. Look how weird this price action is. Ugh. It's up 9% though. It's making a pretty strong move. Been above the 5-day moving average, and it kind of broke through this. Clearly in a downtrend still. And then what is it? Earnings? Is that why? Is it earnings today, or did it already report? After market on 5-6. Okay, so it's trading into earnings. 68-cent expected move. I mean, we can see this thing up here. We could see it down here. Who knows, man? A lot of these names have been beaten to like smithereens. So it's like, dude, are they due for just an earnings move that gap them up way up? Maybe. Honestly, I can't, like I said, I can't execute it myself. It just doesn't make sense for me in my portfolio. If I did do it, it'd be such a small amount. It wouldn't really do anything for me other than just risk things, right? Let's take a look back at the SPY. SPY is still holding the high of the day. Come on, let's just get to 51.75 and get me out of my position. I don't even know why I'm waiting anymore, because I've already cut it down to 25% of its size. Should just... I think I might just honestly exit and just call it a day. What would that be? What am I giving up if I miss that? Yeah, I'm just going to cut it because I'm going to close it out. I don't care. Yeah, I'm happy with that. It was a decent trade. It was stuck all day, and then finally we caught a decent one. I got out of the position. I think it was still 51.75 is the target area. Market net flow is not giving us much. Zero date, it's not giving us a whole lot, but it is giving us a better look that traders are reaching out a little bit further, right? But one, I just don't want to pay attention to it anymore, and I think I'm going to call the stream there. I'm tired. I think I'm going to go get some sunlight. Had a good exercise this morning. And then I'll try to put together a video to recap some of these thoughts. If I can't, then I will probably have one out here soon. Or if I want to do one a little bit quicker, I might just do it for the Discord group. And just not post it out on YouTube. If you guys are interested in checking out the Discord, it's not expensive. It's $9 a month, or you pay for the year. It's patreon.com/figuringoutmoney. Or you can go to my YouTube videos and see a link there. That's all I got for you on today's episode, everybody. It's been a wild one. Hopefully I guys played it careful, played it cool. I'll recap really quickly here. Just be aware that, yeah, the market's moving up higher, but just pay attention. Like, the dollar is not backing off here yet, right? The dollar's holding strong, right? 10-year yield. Down slightly on the day, so not much. It's kind of holding still. which means energy names could pull in or oil can pull in. Kind of more positive posturing for the market, more risk on, but I will say it's like financials and energy are leading the way. Energy got beaten down, financials still look good, and this could be why IWM is leading. SPY is up about almost 1%, same with Qs, they're kind of hand to hand. And then the defensive sectors like XLP is the one that's lagging today. To note though, utilities, I mean, utilities is a defensive sector, and this thing is sitting at highs for the year, right? XLK separated decently from the highs of its year, right? So there is some weird defensive posturing going on in these markets. Just because we're having an update draft higher, could very well just be from just a gamma perspective, how a lot of the focus is at that 5,200. But if we get up to 5,200 people and people aren't reaching out further, if these don't grow, we can get pinned in here up until the option expiration, all right? So as it stands, I think 5,200 would be the upside target. And then from there, we have to kind of reconsider what's going on in the markets from that point and kind of just revisit it all. Till then, we are in positive gamma territory. So dealers are looking to buy the dip, sell the rip. That's what happens when you're in positive gamma territory. And we're above a rising 5-day moving average. If I pull that up right now, we're above a rising 5-day moving average. So the bias would be long overall, although we had went far, right? Far and fast. If we pull in and we're still above the 5-day moving average and positive gamma, we look for long setups. We look for strength after that. Okay. So things are starting to shape up. I'll go one more step further for you all before we head off. I'll look at the daily time frame. The daily time frame, we put in a higher low, and just the other day on Friday, we cracked a higher high. That is a positive sign. We're holding above the swing high anchored VWAP, which tells us that the average person based off of time and volume is now in the water. So the bulls are in charge from that point. Okay. Now we've went pretty far and fast. So ideally you'd want to see it pull back and hold this level and then go and then give us an easy entry. That's not always the case, unfortunately, on a lot of these moves. A lot of these moves, they can get away from you. So you have to go into smaller time frames, be a little bit more tactical and go from there. Hope that helps out everybody. Thanks for tuning in out there on Twitch. Thanks FT, thanks 69, thanks Trader Joe. Ref, thanks for being here. Reef, Hoover, thanks for being here. Moonraker, obviously, thanks for being here. FJ, Super Beef Patty, Ronald, thanks for being here. Yeah, everybody out there, Trader Jans, if you're still here, thanks for being here. Prophecy, thanks for being there. And then we got Old Testament over here on YouTube, Mike Moore, Tony, Gianni, Dunk, Daryl, Joe, Elon, Will, One Wheeler, Art, thanks for being here, y'all. I know I'm going to pronounce it wrong, but Anuj, thanks for being here, man. Scott, Ilan, Zach, Colby, Pablo, Jason Sharp, Matt in the hat. Cool. Randy, Jamie, Curiosity, Ash Patel, Joe, everybody.